making these things so complicated.
Yeah.
All right. I will call the March 2nd Facilities Committee meeting to order at 6:08. Present are committee members Larry Speed, Mike Wolf, Brian Doty, and myself, Tamara Twardowski. Also, business manager Lauren Small and the facilities manager. Is that your title?
Buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds supervisor
is the official term.
Okay. Also present as members of the public are Rich Martino and Andrew Basel. So, there are no other members of the public at this time. The Reserve Advisors Conference call, is that still kind of just a placeholder?
That's just a placeholder there so we don't forget it. But if,
I did bring some of my notes on that. I guess we should probably try to figure out what we want to do with that. And we had some comments from what Casey had put together, and then input from
every Monday night we can remind the board to
make
get anything to us
that they want, so we can.
I did tell Reserve that we would give them a list so that we weren't
okay.
hitting them cold when we call them, and then once we get the information together, then I'll schedule a conference call.
Okay.
You can do it here one night at facilities or committee or whatever.
Okay, that's a good idea
So that's to be determined.
Right, but we'll
We just don't want to forget we want to do it.
make an announcement at the committee of the whole that if anybody has comments that they'd like or want to be part of it or whatever, to let us know. All right, and then I'll turn this over to you guys.
The train contracts update, I'll jump in on. We've pretty much finalized the last response. I think it's going to be about, when we're through, about $21,000 that we will pay them and get out from under all of these agreements that were non-enforceable. And what we're paying them for is some actual work that was done and some August invoices, and we're arguing down. They wanted to prorate a couple of the M&V's contracts for this year, and our argument was that they didn't provide a service, so why prorate it? So that's where we're at, and the final letter should be going back to them this week.
Nice.
What's the potential savings over the next couple of years, roughly?
Well, it's 10 years roughly. Long term, these things could have gone out. We're third and fourth year on those that have been paid upon. Be about $770,000.
Now, we will still have some expenses out of that for...
Well, not out of those. We'll still have time and material work moving forward, but they weren't going to provide time and material work for us anyway.
Yeah, right now, just train alone's about $125,000 a year, and that'll be knocked down to about anywhere from 20 to 45, depending on what I can do with in-house staff. Once we start kind of tearing into what they were and we're not doing.
Okay.
So.
Are we going to have trouble getting parts or anything?
Right now they have us on credit hold,
Yeah,
only because we owe them $89,000, you know. But we can buy parts with a credit card. They just won't give us credit. So we can still buy our
going
parts.
Back to the thing from that issued from Birdsboro?
No, that's a whole nother
No,
separate issue.
That was a separate deal. This was just simply these contracts as a result of me back in July when I met with the guy from Train, and he mentioned to me, oh, by the way, we're doing wonderful things for you by these service contracts. And I said, what service contracts? And that's what started this whole.
Right.
And then when Casey got here, we really dug in deep, and that's where we're at. But no, it's not related directly to the Train boiler project. Separate deal.
Yeah, we are married to Train. I mean, we have their controls in all of our schools, so we need their support in some capacity, just not in the capacity that they currently are being paid.
Just not that much support.
Correct. Correct.
Because it really doesn't sound like there was a whole lot of support. It was we're still paying time and materials. They were getting paid a yearly
As we need.
Stipend.
fee.
Was there a difference between, was their time and material rate in the contract? And you got a discount off of that for being on the contract versus their
About
standard rates?
$5 an hour, but it was still $123 an hour.
So it's
Yeah.
really- What's the advantage of having a
Plus-
contract? It's ridiculous.
Plus mileage, plus fuel surcharge.
Yeah.
That's part of what we're arguing now. They charge us both.
And I'll just give you a case in point. Monocacy,
Yeah.
Monocacy, we had a compressor that was defective over there. Their proposal to us was like $9,000. They also had about $3,000 to diagnose it. So what I did was I brought in Berkshire Mechanical and I said, no, go in there blind. I'm not telling you what's wrong. In 2 hours, they had it diagnosed as to what they felt was wrong with, what caused the compressor to fail. They have since installed the new compressors, started researching some things on the unit, and they're talking to the factory right now to find out why it is the way it is, because they feel something's wrong in the unit. Train's excuse to me was, well, it's not a Train unit, so we're not very knowledgeable in theirs. So, so Berkshire's doing it for $1,000 less than what Train was going to do it for, but they're going the extra mile. They're not just throwing the compressors in, throwing a charge in, and letting it go. They actually looked at the whole thing and said something doesn't look right, and they are $75 an hour.
So can you use other providers such as them to work on Train equipment? Like, does
yeah.
Train have authorized?
Train has authorized people, but the only time you need to have Train is when you need a board reprogrammed with their software.
Okay.
And that kind of stuff. There's certain OEM stuff that you have to use them for, but replacing compressors, replacing valving, replacing units, we can replace the units in-house. If it's drop it out of the ceiling, put a new one up there, we can do that with our staff. But when it comes to all the compressors, we don't have anybody certified for the to reclaim, reinstall. My guys can do it, but there again, if something happens, you void the warranty because you don't have a
Right.
certified technician doing it. So,
And none of these are under the original warranty.
no.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, so if you don't know now, it's just something that I do want to, at some point, find out the resolution to was the Burnsboro boiler project. I know we had the thing with the contractor and the material, and he wanted to
Yeah.
buy stuff back, and
Oh, the rental.
Oh, that
And the
was on the
rental.
rental.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
still not finalized.
Okay.
I'm still,
We're still fighting that?
I owe him a letter right now.
okay,
We didn't give any material back.
okay.
We recovered some.
You know what? That's
Okay, and then I guess that you've kind of plugged the savings numbers into the budget, I guess, or, I mean, just as
Right.
the new numbers?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anybody else have any more questions on that?
Nice work, guys.
Yes.
We're trying.
The key system?
Keys, you guys just asked the last meeting in regards to buying a key cutting machine compared to what it would cost for keys to already be cut by the vendor. If I buy a blank, it's $2.25. A standard cut key is $5.40. A master key is $7.40. So if you throw $4 for them to cut a key on average, we could cut about 450 keys for the cost of the key cutting machine. After we buy 450 keys, we're break even with the cost of the key cutting machine. That was the question, was do we really need a key cutting machine, don't we?
How many keys do we need? Do we know? I forget if we talked about that number last time.
Well, staff is still going to need keys to a point unless we're going to have the custodians unlock all the doors and take all the keys out of our staff's hands. But, till you have coaches and maintenance, and I mean, we're going to need, a couple hundred keys of in some capacity. I mean, just masters and keys for certain doors. I mean, we're going to be cutting a large amount of keys. But there again, and I'm not throwing dollar amounts in for our guys' time either.
Right.
So it's going to take about 2 or 3 minutes to cut a key and stamp a key as well. So to me, it's I think it's kind of a wash, really, if you look at it. I think what we're going to save and time-wise, we're going to spend and money-wise with them cutting the keys. Somebody has to be paid to cut the keys, whether it's our staff or their staff. And I think in the overall scheme of things, it's going to be a wash. So the decision for you guys is, do we want to have a key cutting machine for us to cut the keys, or would we rather just call out and pay somebody to cut the keys?
What's the turnaround time for ordering keys?
Well, I would buy blanks. I would have to have some blanks on hand, so if I need a key quick, I can go to locksmith and provide him the blank key, and then he can cut it.
Okay.
So I can buy the blanks and have a local locksmith cut them. I'm not sure what his cut fee is, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's going to be a few bucks, $4, $5, $6 probably to cut one key.
What if you gave him like 10 at a time or something like that?
It just takes so much time to cut a key. Till you take it out of the duplicator, clean it, stamp it, put the next one in.
Does it make sense to just have, I don't know, 2 extra of each key? Whatever, I mean, or a couple extra of each key,
Right.
or whatever the keys that you give away the most, and then you kind of keep them.
And that's
under
what I would
lock
do.
and key.
I mean, I would order, if I need 50, I'm going to order 60 or 70. I'm going to keep the extra ones here. I mean, I'll have extras of each. It's just, do we want to spend the $2,000 up front, or do we want to just have that $2,000 spent over time of getting keys cut?
Once we get a key machine, and we go through this project, what do we do with the key machine? It's just going to sit there, right? It's just,
Well, you'll always be cutting keys
we'll
to
always be
a
cutting keys
point.
for something.
Yeah.
Well, did we had some questions still about how many locks you were going to need and all that. Did you?
Eric Kay from Asa Abloy, who's he's their security specialist, is actually coming Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Wednesday at 9 o'clock. So we're going to go to each one of the buildings and do the walkthrough, and then he can give us his recommendation of what doors you want to direct, the common traffic through. And then the other doors will just key to a specific key if we need them for athletics or band or, whatever the need may be.
Right.
So.
And he was the guy that you said was a taxpayer that was
Yeah.
just doing the study for.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I know we've done this, and at the township is given a donation receipt if they want it for business, so they can at least write off. I mean, I would think we could do that. Whatever their
Just a gift in
service
kind.
fee normally is, like we've given a letter saying they've donated X in kind, and they use it as a tax deduction. But I wouldn't be opposed to that if somebody's doing something.
Yeah, ASAP is about a $3 billion company.
Oh, so they don't. Okay.
it's-
Okay.
It's all good.
I didn't know if it was he
No,
was on
they're
his own
huge.
or whatever.
They're a
Okay.
worldwide,
Okay.
a worldwide company.
Any thoughts on whether we want a machine or we just?
And we don't have to make that decision now, but I just wanted to, you guys can.
I say order them and don't.
I say
because-
don't get a machine.
Yeah, I would think we could just order the keys.
I worry about.
People are going to be using the key machine to cut keys for their house.
Yeah, like I worry about.
And there's a
Their
maintenance
cars.
to it too.
And how many keys are going to sneak out the door here that we don't know
No,
about?
that's fine. I have no problem ordering keys.
It's just vulnerability.
That's not a problem.
Okay. I mean, if you come back to us and say we're going to need
I don't think the key machine
400
has anything
keys.
to do with keys walking out the door.
That-
You have to have that regardless. But, unless you have somebody on light duty that you can say, hey, your job for the next week is to make keys.
Right.
That's
You're
true,
going
too.
to be investing that time in labor in it anyway.
Yeah.
True.
Which is taken away from something else.
Correct.
That could almost be like a punishment. Here, make 500 keys.
It is a punishment. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
I had to cut 30 one time, and I was like, I was stir crazy by the time I was done.
How
So.
tedious can that be?
Yeah.
Do any members of the public have any comments on the keys?
I I guess my only comment on the keys is, I don't think it's an issue of cutting keys. I think you just outsource that, send out whatever it is and have somebody do it who's got experience doing it. Because if the key doesn't work, you know, you gotta try the keys out. If they're not cut properly, like I said, you can at least go back to the vendor. You're not spending more time and effort
True.
doing that. I think the biggest issue is one of key control.
Yep.
Getting the keys back from those that have the keys. If they don't give them back to you, then fining them, you know, whatever it's gonna cost us to rekey all the darn buildings, which should be a charge,
I know.
$500 or something like that. It makes it worthwhile for somebody to return their key. I mean, to sign off on a waiver or some other type of thing, because we did have a problem with keys floating around in the school district for a long time, where people were opening doors, kids had access to the buildings, they were stealing computers, all kinds of stuff, video cameras.
Wow.
Oh yeah, this was a huge problem.
Wow.
Huge problem. They were breaking pipes in the building. We thought we had a problem where pipes were freezing and bursting. They were going in there with sledgehammers and breaking pipes open. The giant, big phallus on the wall in the gym, just all kinds of stuff. So keys are a problem. I think the biggest issue is key control, making sure that, I think we ought to, my personal opinion is I think you ought to rekey everything. So you do have control. Now you're starting at point zero. Who has the keys? Because at this point, there are people all over this place in Burnsboro have keys to these buildings, and it's.
When did all this go on?
This was not going on when I got on the board.
Before I was on the
7, 8,
board the
9,
last time.
10.
It was shortly after
It was
middle
in the paper.
school.
I mean, the big phallus on the gym floor or whatever was in the paper.
Yeah, it was brand new gym floor.
Brand new gym floor.
It was on the floor.
In here. This building.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yep. They
But
breaking
Casey,
the
you're
pipe.
saying this is still somewhat of an issue, the control aspect of it?
It won't be once we rekey the exterior of the buildings,
Okay.
because nobody's, whoever has keys can't get into the building.
Right.
That's the easiest
So
way.
you're going to find out real quick on who thought they had access, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden they're like, hey, I can't get into the building.
But I like Andrew's idea about, making them have some skin in the game
Yep.
with the key, because, one key goes missing, now it's a vulnerability.
Yeah, and I don't know if we need to change a policy or something somewhere. We should
We'll send that to Mike.
do that with this. Yeah. So I don't know if there is. I don't know if we need a but yeah, I think when they get the key, they should sign something that
agree.
says they understand if they don't return the key, it's $500 or whatever.
Yeah, make it something steep.
Yeah.
But
If you
long
need more
term,
ideas for policies, I'm great with.
Different meeting.
I recall you stating your name for the record.
Yeah.
I just want to state for the record, Mr. Wolf looks way too well rested and.
Yeah.
I got a sunburn.
And tan, yeah.
All right. So it looks like at this point the committee's recommendation is not to buy the
fine.
machine.
But our long-term plan is to move to a fob system and get away from the keys. So
Right.
then we can just deprogram and,
Yeah, that's gonna be much easier. Plus, you know who's going in and out too.
yeah, exactly. You have the
Another
con- you
reason to
the
not have a key
control and-
machine, I guess, right?
When are we expected to get numbers on all that, too? Is that going to be a part of the Wednesday thing, or?
Well, as a result of, but I don't know how long it'll take us to get that.
That'll be,
Right.
I didn't want to bring people in and say, okay, we're going to be doing 12 doors when he says you should do 5 doors,
Okay.
kind of thing. So I want him to walk through and he'll look at the buildings and say, well, based on building design, you want to bring somebody in here, 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 and there, kind of thing.
Right.
So, and this is what this guy does. I mean, this is what Asa Abloy pays him to do.
Okay.
So, it's not just some guy on the street corner saying, hey, I know security.
Yeah.
It's-
Oh, that's good.
All right. Well, I guess we get to move on down to MEC.
I'm pulling that off because I'm still digging for anything I can find regarding that issue, and I'm working on the RFP for an architect of record. That's a separate deal, but it's related to this. But I know I've got 2 big boxes of job meetings and history of the MEC project that I'm digging through to see if I can find any discussion potential liability for contractors.
I just can't believe that wasn't part of the stormwater management or land development plan or anything.
I'm sure it's part of the stormwater development plan.
That they just let it spring.
But usually there's an 18-month I mean, usually there's a 1 year or 18-month maintenance period where they go back and they look to see how everything was
Settle.
before they release the final payment to the contractor. And
There was a problem with the rain gardens, are the rain gardens out there?
Not out there. I don't believe they're there.
they were, they're not.
I mean, there was a stormwater issue that we had after it was, I totally remember this.
There's a stormwater underground retention basin in the back of the property the guys told me about.
Yeah, and we were having a problem, I don't know if it was that one or it was the spring issue, but we were having a problem on there for a good period, 6-7 months afterwards, and we had to get that remediated with the general contractor. I believe Brian Subers was involved in that process too. The other person I would talk to is Ken Smith's dad. I just know him as Mr. Smith. He was kind of the liaison in the project. I don't know if that's the right word.
Clerk of the works.
Exactly what
Yeah.
he was playing, but he would come to the board and report on the progress of the project and things of that nature. So he may have some knowledge on it. I'm sure Ken, we could probably call him up, and I'm sure he could give us some historical knowledge on it as well. Just so you know where to start looking.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the architect of record RFP, just so, and I mean, Andrew might have some input on this too, but we had talked about, for example, if we needed to do the MEC parking lot drainage and we had to go out to bid, we would need somebody to draw up some type of plan, that kind of thing. So what we had talked about at the last facilities meeting was putting out an RFP for an architect of record so that when we needed things like that, we could just go to that person rather than solicit for bids every time. So we thought that was a probably a good idea, and Lauren started working on that. I don't know if everybody was here, I think, for the last meeting, right? So I don't know if you guys have further comments, or if Rich or Andrew, you have anything that you would add to that, but that was kind of the way of thinking, that it would make sense to have somebody on standby if we need them, rather than try to figure it out when we're ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
An
Yeah.
engineer you can go to for quick
Do you know-
questions or a quick design or
Do you know,
something.
did the architect that did the stadium, was that the same one that did
Architect, I
MEC?
would recommend
Well, no, that's what I want to stay away from that. That's what, did they do MEC also?
No, KCBA did
Okay.
MEC and the middle school and AEC. They did all. It might have been DWKB at the time, but that company has, their name has changed depending on what partners were there
All
at the time.
non-competitive bids.
I said
What's that?
All
maybe,
non-competitive bids.
maybe we want to send the RFP out to architects we have never used before. I don't-
right.
But
The tough part about the parking lot, it's what, 8 years now?
Yeah.
8-9 years. So it's going to be difficult to go after anybody, because they can say, oh, it just showed up 2 years or 3 years later or whatever. And I will tell you, it's getting worse. I caught it with my plow a bunch of times this morning. So it's no longer just a couple cracks. It's to the point where I had to turn my plow a certain way so I didn't catch it, so I could ride over the crack in the parking lot. So,
you don't be messing up
Bring
the
the
new
new
plow.
hey, you
We'll
hit it one
catch up
time,
for
you
that.
remember it the next time, trust me.
That is true.
I know it's like
Take the truck away from you if you keep doing it. Shovel them.
All right, I can, as to APC rental, just so you know, I did, I reached out and sent an email out to Chaz last week. He was out of the office, I think, last week. I didn't hear from him today, but if he was out all last week, I'm sure he has things to catch up on. I think, Dave was going to mention something to him as well, just because he was seeing him about something else, or talking to him about something else. So I'm waiting back to hear from that. I don't know if you guys had further information, or if it was just kind of to keep it as a placeholder again, so we
Yeah,
don't
I just
forget
figured
about
I'd let you make your contacts and get back to us on that one.
it. Okay. So, I mean, I'm hopeful that if they're just using it at night, there's probably not any more traffic than what's in here and out of here during the day, and maybe they'll just let that slide, but we'll see. I guess in the meantime, though, if you can add to your list, kind of figuring out what our costs would be, so that if we do are able to do that, we know what we need to charge them at a minimum. to cover the cost. And I think,
And they were saying, just wanted to recap, they were saying that the standard fee schedule for facilities use was a problem. It kind of crept into their business model.
Our current
For their
is
startup.
$37.50 a month. If you
Okay.
go to
Like
our, if you go to our fee schedule, the way it's currently set up, it's either $37.50 or $47.50 a month.
because it probably charges them for every time they
Yeah.
use it, like a certain amount. So, what
And
we
that-
had talked about, and this is, I think, still that's something that I just mentioned to Lauren, we need to kind of keep on the agenda too, so we don't forget, is the facilities use, the fee schedule and that kind of thing. I know Mary Beth and some other people were trying to work on some things, and we talked about it 6-8 months ago, and then we really had, but we do need to try to figure that out, certainly before the end of the year, so we can notify people for next school year if there's going to be changes to whether or not they're paying or what they're paying.
I just feel like we worked on that before and revised it and came up with a fee schedule. And right away, the first year, we've got this opportunity that doesn't quite fit the mold.
I don't think we ever finalized it. We worked
Oh,
on it,
we
but we
didn't.
didn't finalize it. They
Okay.
wanted to do more work at the
So it's
administrative
still
end.
old.
Right, so that's why I
Okay,
said we
Work
should,
in
we need,
progress.
right, so,
Because Relay for Life was brought up again,
correct,
too.
that's why,
and
yeah.
It's like, everybody's a special needs still. Like, well, yeah, they're special, and we should give them a break. And
Well,
Right.
I don't know that we really have on the schedule, something for people that use it repeatedly,
yeah, that's true.
like
Bulk discount.
other than, because really the only people that use it repeatedly are like the sports, the midget sports, and they've never been charged. So, or I don't think they're charged, unless they use the cafeteria and stuff, so, that's what we were trying to figure out.
I don't remember exactly. I talked to Mike that day.
Sorry. It's Blazer midget football. I don't know what they call it. I guess wrestling isn't midgets, but anyway, sorry. The children, the youth athletics, how's that? So maybe we could kind of get an update on that next month where we're at. If we can, and I don't know if that's something Mary Beth needs to kind of have some input in or not, but.
Okay.
So, review of turf equipment.
Casey.
You're up.
I'm up. Currently, in order to maintain what we have, mow grass, do the fields and everything, we really don't have the right equipment for the right jobs. I mean, we're dragging infields with a lawn tractor and a homemade nail drag. And it is a time-consuming process. With that, I'm looking at taking, currently the way it's set up now is we have, I just got to look at my list here. The way they currently do the lawn prior to me coming here is we have four mowers at 4 of the schools. We have 2 at the middle school, 1 at, I'll call it this complex, Amity Primary and AEC, and 1 at MEC, and then we transport 1 to Birdsboro. And the way it works, the way it currently is, two grounds guys are at the high school, there are 3 at the middle school, and 1 comes over here to mow these 2 properties, and 1 grounds guy goes between MEC and Birdsboro. So,
And these are just mowers?
just mowers.
They're riding mowers?
They're a John Deere 1435. So what that is a diesel mower with a 6-foot front deck. We also use them for snow removal. We have snow blowers for them, and we have a brush for them, for some of them. So
Average age?
2005, average hours is 2,500 hours.
That's pretty low, right?
That's actually pretty high.
2,500 hours?
That's a lot of hours.
Really?
For a mower, yeah. Now remember, that's also used
40
for snow
hours.
removal as
It's
well,
a year round.
and stuff, so.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, the equipment's okay. I'm not looking to purchase mowers at this time. I mean, I would like to, but the money's not there for it. But what I plan on doing is making them into a landscaping crew, because right now we're just not efficient. The guys that are at each of their buildings, they know how long it takes them to mow that building, and they make sure it takes them that long to mow the building.
Right.
So.
Forward around the rest of the time.
Right. So what my intent is to make them into a landscaping crew. We have a trailer that we can use. We have a truck that we can use to tow it. The unfortunate part is that truck's in our maintenance fleet currently. That's the dual wheel truck. So if I turn them into a landscaping crew, we will have to transport for them. We also have the red pickup truck, and I have to look at the trucks right now because we have a clutch going in the Ford. We just put steering struts in the front of it this morning. So I just have to kind of look and see what we can and can't do.
How much weight are you talking about? I mean, with the trailer.
They're going to be about
5,000?
They're each probably about 3,000 pounds.
No, they'd be about 2,500.
Is that what they are about? Yeah.
And you want to haul all of them?
Two of them.
Two of them.
Yeah. I would leave one or two at the middle school. I would probably leave one at the middle school, one at the high school, and take two on the trailer. And then that way I can put weed eaters on the truck, and I can have the guys go as a landscaping crew. But as part of that is, to make that work, we need an infield machine for the baseball fields, for the middle school and the high school fields.
Why do you need that?
To do the infields in a timely fashion. Right now, it takes so long for us to do the ball fields, it's not productive at all. I mean, we tie up a guy for way too many hours.
What's the process? I mean, I'm not familiar with that baseball. What's the process for what you're talking about?
The problem, what they do now is they have more or less an angle iron frame with nails in it. All right, and they drag that behind a lawn tractor.
Behind one of these mowers?
Behind a lawn tractor,
Oh.
a home lawn tractor. All right.
Okay.
So they drag the infield with that, and then they go back and they take either a piece of chain link fence or some type of homemade drag that they have, and then they smooth it out. So if we would have an infield machine, the middle school's 5 fields I could probably do in about 2.5 hours.
So would you?
Right now they do them in probably takes them the better part of a day to do them the right way. With the equipment that we have now, we can't take out high spots. We can't make the fields level without standing there raking it. The infield machine has what they call spring tines. Their tines about that long, and they're springs which drag it. Then you have it has a brush on it, so you tine it, you brush it, and it's smooth when you're done. It has a leveling bar, so if you have any low areas, you put the bar down, you can smooth your fields out. A lot of your problem now with your fields are your lips on the edges. When you have a toe behind drag, it pushes the dirt out. With this, it keeps the dirt in place. You don't get the push out. So.
Would this,
Just, this is not going to sound, I don't mean this way.
No, go ahead.
But we're talking about dragging dirt. Why is this such a big deal? I mean, I understand the cost and the time, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm there with that.
I got you.
Is that the main issue?
No, your infields have a crown to them.
Okay.
Okay. 95% of people that drag a field, if it's an all dirt infield, will start at home plate. Start at the mound, and they'll go around and around and around and around. They start pushing that dirt to the outside.
Okay.
So now instead of your field having a crown, now it has a bowl.
Okay.
Now you have the water. Now the water will lay in there. So not only does your ground get hard, more chance of people getting injured because you can't. And with the equipment that they have now, you can't refluff the dirt because it's just not made for it. It's safe. Safety for one. Keeping the dirt where it needs to be is two. If you go to the middle school now, and I just had the guy from the Daniel Boone Youth Association here, he said the one field has a lip of about 8 inches high. That's 8 years. It's about an 8-inch drop off and about 3 feet. And it's all around the outfield edge, which is where they're dragging with the tow behind drag. I mean, you think about it, that tow behind drag is going behind a tractor, and it's doing this. It's that tail end's just pushing the dirt out.
Okay.
Doesn't happen in a month, but it happens over time.
What is this thing called?
It's, did I give you all that? I have that in my folder.
Well, let's do base paths too, or is that,
Yep.
because that's an issue with base paths too, the dirt really is. If they don't rake that back in from the edges,
Get the rut.
you get the high spot, which apparently in baseball is not good to have these slips. And didn't we just pay like $7,000 last year to dig out
Okay.
the high
Do
school
you want me to
fields?
explain that one?
Sorry.
That's
I'm
another
just
issue.
looking for
Okay. Well, no, I wonder, is that an end result of this, and does this save that? Because if we,
Correct.
every so many years,
Correct.
have to spend $6,000 or $7,000 to dig out the fields.
$17,000.
Okay.
When?
And we're
Last
gonna.
year?
And I remember Ken saying something about it, and then it never came back in front of
You
us.
spent 17 grand on what?
Fluff and dirt.
Okay. You spent $17,000 on, and I grabbed them because I just was taking these down. Junior varsity baseball field, you spent $8,100. What they did was they removed 2 foot of the grass on the entire perimeter of the field, interior grass and exterior grass. So your home plate, your mound, the baselines, and all the grass edges. They removed 2 feet. They dug that down, got that to the right elevation, and they brought sod in.
And this was caused because we're dragging it with this homemade gizmo?
Just from age, yeah.
Well, wait a minute now. So you're saying if we had this machine, we would have avoided that cost?
If you use it the right way, yes.
How many other instances are we paying above and beyond what we should?
Well, sorry, that's the salting guy. Your softball field, you spent $7,700 last year to do the same
To
thing.
do the same thing?
Do the same thing. Now, part of the problem is, and this is a big fight that I have with a lot of people.
We're not fighting.
No, I'm just saying, but I know what I have with other people in other sports. When you drag the center of it and you start pushing it out over a few years, you get that bowl effect. So what people do is they bring in they bring in dirt.
Infield mix.
And they bring an infield mix and they bring it to the right height again. Well, now over a year or two, that dirt pushes out. Well, that dirt just keeps going into the outfield grass. So your field just slowly just keeps getting higher and higher and higher.
And this is bad for the players and bad for the.
Safety wise and everything else. So,
So so if you had this machine and you did, you said
And it was
about,
used properly.
and it was used properly, that we would avoid costs like that. We would still have them.
you'd have them sporadically, but not
To that extent.
to that
Regularly.
extent.
So we
Literally every field at the middle school, I'm going to have to take the edges up this year at some point in time. Because
What about
there's-
other are there fields elsewhere that we have to maintain and take care of, and how you gonna move this machine back and forth? Is that
Correct.
It's
Okay.
it's the size of a
A
garden
3-wheeler.
tractor.
Okay.
You play golf?
Yeah.
It's a sand machine.
Oh, okay.
It's a bunker rake.
Oh, is
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, it's the same. It's the same
Similar,
thing.
Okay.
It's got the
It's
Oh,
just
now
instead of
someone
having
related to golf, everybody.
instead of just
understands.
having the little tines in the back, it has dirt specific
Okay.
equipment in the back.
Okay.
But it's a 3-wheeler.
So we spent $15,800 fluffing dirt.
Fluff and dirt.
Well,
Fluff
cutting
and dirt.
dirt out and putting the
That's
sod
dirt.
back in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
What's the machine cost? Did we get that number?
17,
17,000.
So you could have paid for it.
and
then.
that's complete.
What do you mean by complete?
everything.
That's
Tax
everything.
saddle
That's
tax.
the 3-wheel
Not
machine plus the attachments.
Heated
Yes.
seats?
No, it's here.
Yeah,
I will
it's
tell you,
summertime.
up north, I bought one. I bought the John Deere version. I'm not sure who builds this one.
This is Toro.
And in 12
Smithco makes them.
years, it's going strong. It's nothing you're going to wear out.
Yeah, Smithco makes, Smithco's another company that makes it. Smithco actually makes it for John Deere now. John Deere stopped making their own because they couldn't be competitive.
Do our guys wear helmets like that guy in the picture there?
Can we trace back,
Or,
like, is this an expense that is once every 10 years? Like, can we tell if we've had this multiple times over the last 10 years, or?
I don't know. but
I have no
Okay.
idea.
This isn't the end of the story. on
This
that.
isn't the end of the story, so I'll wait till they're done looking
Nothing's
at that.
ever the end of the story.
You don't want to hear the end
You don't
of
want to
the
hear
story.
the next part.
All right, what's the next one?
what's the next part?
Why is every
My-
penny we have with you
Wait,
paying
you're
for?
going back 10 years. The middle school fields are only,
They're 9 years, 8, 9 years old.
Okay, but I was just, like, if you do it 3 times in 9 years or once in 9 years, there's a difference, right? If you're doing it every couple years, it may make sense to do that. If you're doing it once every 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
maybe it's not.
But
I don't know.
remember, it's
I'm-
also a time savings as
Correct,
well.
yes.
You
but
know,
I have
got
a
that.
question.
go ahead.
What are you going to do with the time?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to reduce overtime? You're-
My intent is to get on and do the in-house mulching that needs to be done, the flower bed work that needs to be done. If you've walked the schools lately, all of the sidewalk edges are sunk down about that far.
But we'd be able to absorb that time.
Correct. There's plenty of things for the guys to do. And if there is a surplus of time, my intent is to bring one of them in to maintenance to help with the maintenance, the preventive maintenance of all the equipment, changing filters, greasing motors, belts, and
Yes.
stuff like that.
One other question. You said if it's used right, who's going to teach you how to use it?
I will.
So you've used one?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, for years.
Totally unrelated to the purchase of a piece of equipment.
Yeah,
You
Just
in
come
F-
with the blower?
In FY,
no, that costs money. Going back to the sod, and this is unrelated to that piece of equipment. My second or third day here, Phil Kerr took me to the back of the high school, and I said to him, I said, why is the grass brown on the fields?
Oh, right.
And he said, well, they put sod down there, and it didn't take. I said, what do you mean it didn't take? This was right when Ken was leaving. And I hate to say it this way, but I'm just going to say it this way. You spend $17,000 for nothing because the sod's dead. There's the
Whose
grass they put
responsibility
down.
was it to make sure it takes?
I had Thomason and Bomberger who installed the sod in. Their responsibility is after they lay it down, they told me that they told the staff here to water it. Ken wasn't here. The two guys that were at the high school were both going on vacation for the weekend. So, exactly right, Larry. It's this, you know.
but there was no water at the site to water it with.
Yeah, there was no water at the site. The water, the well house that's between the baseball field and the football practice field, or I said the softball field. Actually, at the football field, the storage shed has a well in there. The piping was all busted, and nobody bothered to fix that. When I was here, literally that day, I said, okay, we're gonna go get this fixed. So we fixed the piping, ran about 400 foot of hosing, garden hose, and Eric Wagner watered it every day for a week and a half to the point where it almost turned into mud. We tried to get it to come back, and it was beyond the point. Softball field, we can just remove the sod, throw it away. It has not knitted. There's no root structure. It's junk. The infield will be a little bit bigger. So be it. The baseball field needs to be redone. And Tomlinson and Bomberger said they would do it at their cost, which is $3,300. I got a second quote from Hummer Turf, and they were $4,900.
Oh, which field is this case?
They call it the junior varsity baseball field. It's on the annex end of the high school, down the big bank down there.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't see it now because it's under snow, but.
So 3,300. The cost was 17 grand last year,
That's for both.
That was for both.
They removed the lip and they regraded and everything. I mean, I should say it was 17 grand for nothing. Everything's regraded. So
It's just
what
the
our
sod
intent
wall.
is, we would pull the sod up. We would pull the sod up, and then the next day they would come in and lay the sod down. So it
Is the water fixed down there so that this doesn't
Correct.
happen again?
correct.
Okay.
I mean, we can't be,
Who do we send the bill to?
exactly, you know, we spend 17 grand on this stuff, and then somebody,
Well, Casey's new on the scene.
I know, you're exactly right, you're 100% correct, but it pisses me off.
Oh,
Well, let
it,
me say another side to Lauren, since the payroll comes under you, and I don't know who deals with this, but what you said was part of the problem seems to be an issue in this school district. You have two people, and they both took vacation the same week. And it's not just the maintenance department that happens. It's the entire administration, it seems. My experience is if you have two people, one goes this week, one goes next week, not all at the same time, leaving nobody there.
Yeah.
And it does seem to be an issue.
That's another.
I heard about this from another source, and supposedly it was done on a Friday or something, and like nobody's there anyway.
And the other problem with having the guys report to certain schools is
You don't have coverage.
nobody really knew. I shouldn't say nobody knew about it, but I mean somebody knew about it.
Versus
But
reporting to you.
correct.
Yeah.
If you had guys
You know,
going around.
5 guys
it-
rotating
it-
through.
They would have
you
been
know,
there.
Right.
Oh
What the story? The story I was told was the sod was delivered on a Wednesday. The sod wasn't laid until Friday.
That's a problem.
Correct. Now, Tomlinson and Baumberger flat out says that's impossible. I said, well, I have 4 staff members here that are flat out calling you a liar because I guess there was a truck parked in the way. Or, the guys remember very distinctly as to when it was done. And it was laid the day the guys weren't there. So I guess I'm asking for the facility committee to approve 30, to put a,
We can't plant dead grass.
Well-
Oversee it.
Yeah, first.
we tried. We tried. We were down there hand seeding with seed that we had. We went and got seed and we ordered that seed and it was too late. It was, you're talking second week of October, then it got cold and the seed never took, so.
My issue is I'm pretty sure that sod can't sit in the hot sun on a truck for 2 days. So, like, I'm no expert, but that just seems to like defy common sense. So if our people were telling the truth, then we have a problem with them.
Right, the issue is that should have been gone after
Can't do anything.
8 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before the bill was signed.
And my intent
Yeah.
was.
Or before the check, the bill was paid.
And my intent was to go through somebody else to get me a proposal, but they're a more reputable company, so therefore they cost a little bit more money.
So how much money are we talking about, Katie?
$3,300.
Doesn't sound like we have really a choice.
Yeah, it's kind of.
And the other part of that is, just so you guys are prepared to hear grumblings, that field's going to be shut down for 2 weeks. Because when we
To
lay
do
the
it.
sod, it has to sit for 2 weeks and nobody on it.
Well, that makes sense.
Oh, wow.
Well, big deal,
You know.
so that's just the way it is.
Because that was part of the conversation I had with Daniel Boone Youth, that they may be getting bumped out of the middle school, because I'm going to probably need those fields over there,
Slide.
Okay.
right, I'm just,
All
just.
right.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm just pissed at what happened in the past.
Hey,
I'm not mad at you.
I'm not the school board member, and it
Yeah.
pissed me off when I saw that the first day, So,
Well, I will say, that was right at the tail end of when
correct.
he was
Correct.
leaving. Because, like I said, it was talked about at a facilities meeting, next facilities meet, and it was like, we'll come back to you with what we need. And the next month, I was like, well, what's going on? And it was like, oh, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, well, I guess it was done. But I don't think
Right.
anybody ever
Never.
approved that. I don't think the board approved it. I know the facilities committee didn't approve it because we were waiting for information back. So again, it's another one where 20 grand was spent and nobody really approved it.
Well,
Casey, the last thing
Ken signed it on 7, right here's the copies of the proposals, on 7/29 was when they were signed. But I
Tell
found
them
these
to
in a
cut this
folder.
cost in half and we'll continue to do
It
business.
was our mistake, all the way around. You know what I'm saying?
We'll see you try to sell that.
Trust me,
When would this get done? Like, what time of the year does this get done? In the spring?
Spring,
As soon as we can.
after the ice flow melts.
Exactly. It's,
Glacier.
this spring's gonna be interesting.
Now, Casey, with that with the 17,000 we're talking about for this machine, I remember one of the previous meetings you had mentioned there was some piece of equipment that we didn't use that Exeter wanted, and you wanted to borrow.
That's coming up next.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
So there's
That's
more
fine.
equipment stuff to talk about here.
Correct.
They
Okay.
got a whole fleet.
But
Yes.
what we're suggesting to dispose of any equipment we don't need is to advertise it and accept sealed bids. Just advertise it with the ability to reject any or all bids. And if Exeter wants to bid on it, or any other piece of
I
equipment.
thought we
that-
were trying to do a trade deal with them or something.
Well, Matt Schlegel from Deer Country, who's the John Deere rep, since all of our equipment's John Deere equipment, I had him down, and he looked at, we have 3 front-end tractors. We have 3 tractors with scoops in the front of them. 3 of them, not just 1, not 2, but 3.
Compact pieces.
Yeah,
Basically.
2 of them can't lift anything higher enough to put into a dump truck. So all they're good for is transporting dirt from point A to point B. I mean, used value, trade-in value on 2 of those pieces, one's $9,500 and one is $5,000.
So we can almost buy the infield machine you need with those two?
Well, we'd have to sell these, but I'm just kind of trying to give you some values of what Deer Country was willing to give us in a trade, which means it's worth more than that if we try to sell some of the equipment, just to kind of give you an idea. But, I mean, we have an aerator. It's an aerator. It has tines, an
It's a
overseeder.
vibrating spiker
Yeah.
for breaking up
I know
compact
what an
equipment.
aerator is.
Do we
but I've
use
never
that?
heard of an aerator.
We call it an aerator because it
We have
Vibrates,
varies,
yeah.
vibrates. It's made by a
We-
company
What
down
do
in
you have this
Alabama.
stuff for if we don't use it? Like,
Can't answer that.
No, but can I borrow it like a
Casey's
couple,
let me
like
reverse
next
that.
month
Do
for
my
my yard real
backyard.
quick? I mean,
Listen to what Mike.
I could use some aeration in my grass.
oh
right
no, come on.
That's your answer from here
These
on.
2 guys are the 2 major skeleton digger uppers in the whole district.
Oh, I got it. I'm just.
We've
And
had
we have
more
a tow
skeletons
behind
at the
road
facilities meeting in the
rototiller
last
too
year.
that we
What do
don't
we
need.
need a rototiller for?
Well, what they do now is they take one of the tractors, the PTO driven tractors, they put the rototiller in the back of it. They rototill the infields to make them soft, and then they go on them with the tractor,
Drag 'em.
with the drag
Oh.
for hours trying to smooth it out.
And that just digs it down even that much more.
Well,
Brings up all the
and
rocks.
my understanding, we don't, our varsity team doesn't even play on any of our fields, right?
No, they play at the Optimist.
and that, I would say, our fields are so crappy that our own school doesn't use them because that's how pathetic they are.
That is pretty bad.
So,
So the idea is if we take this group of equipment that we determine we don't need and we advertise it with the opportunity, the option to accept or reject,
right.
if the
You
price
could
doesn't.
always go trade them in. All right.
What else
That's
do
what
we
we do.
have that's in the to be sold pile?
Well, you got the tractor seats, a couple tractors, you got the aerator, you got the tiller, there's a vintage wheel horse over in the middle school.
Ooh.
that
There's a
collectors-
brush hog
Yeah.
that they bought when I guess they built the middle school to maintain the land around the middle school while it was under construction, that we have no need for anymore.
You got that John Deere in the basement of the high school, it's painted blue and white.
Yeah.
I can see needing a brush hog. I mean, occasionally, like one for the whole.
You can rent one for
Yeah.
like
Like,
$50.
that's true.
I mean, if you need it once every 5
That's true,
years.
there's total rental, you can sell or more than pay for the piece of equipment you want
That's
to
our,
buy.
That's our goal.
And
That's our plan.
That's our goal.
Well, I think that's
Well,
a
I
great
guess
goal.
we
I like that as a
look to
goal.
sell it before we look to buy.
What they're looking
Yeah.
to sell will more than pay for the piece of equipment they want to buy plus the sod.
Right, and I'm
It
thinking
will.
though
I mean,
that,
based on what you think.
Well, just by those
I think
prices.
that's a great idea.
Put it in the Lancaster Farmer,
If we're not
and
using
they're gonna
it,
line
it's
up
no
with
value. It's
this.
just another-
Do you guys have that? I mean, that kind of stuff's all kind of ready.
What's that?
That stuff's all kind of ready to go.
Oh, we can get it up real quick.
We've been using it.
Well, but I mean, it's ready to get sold if we want to.
Yeah, just be a matter of just probably washing them.
Well, because
You
what
know.
I'm thinking is maybe at the meeting Monday, the board could authorize the sale process, the bid, whatever, so you guys could get that out.
What's your drop dead date on the infield machine? Because this,
And maybe we
I need
could
it.
dovetail
I
those.
truly, of course, with this year being the way it is now with the snow, with the equipment we currently have, it'll be very time consuming to get the fields ready. So my ultimate goal would be to have it darn close to when the snow's done melting.
And it's readily available.
And they're in the warehouse in Michigan, I guess
shot
there's
for sale
Wisconsin.
shoes.
Well, wait, but
You know.
the worst case scenario is the guy that you said would trade?
Well,
Would give you,
He can't sell the John Deere infield machine because that's a different department of John Deere.
we could approach that. We could
Yeah.
try to trade the John Deere equipment on a John Deere. Do you have the quote for the John Deere?
He never got back to me. Yeah.
We'll get it tomorrow. Yeah, John Deere's funny. They don't let like Deere Country sell commercial turf equipment. You have to use Finch equipment. It's 3 locations in Maryland, Delaware, and someplace else. That's where I got mine up north. But we could approach from that standpoint.
what I thought I heard you say was you're only guaranteed the price that,
Well, it depends
But-
on what we're trading on.
Right.
okay.
Andrew has a comment or question?
Is there any doubt that you're going to buy the infield turf machine?
What was that?
Is there any doubt?
I mean, is the recommendation from the committee going to be to purchase this infield machine regardless of whether or not we sell equipment?
Right.
Because if that's the
Then-
case,
then you
might
should
as
just
well
buy
the
it.
infield machine so you have it ready to go.
No,
and
I-
sell the equipment to the best prices that you can.
I agree. I mean, I think
And
if,
reimburse yourself later.
Right.
But I mean, if you've already made the decision that you're going to buy the machine, then buy the machine so you have it until you're ready to work when the snow melts.
I do agree. I'm not sure we have made that decision, but I was going to go that route too. I mean, if we feel strongly that let's do this, then we should have that here ready to go, even if we don't sell the stuff first, but with the understanding that we are selling that stuff and that money gets
Yeah.
I'm on board.
credited back
Yeah.
towards that
So
purchase.
It's going to be a recommendation.
That's all right.
Is that okay?
I'm okay
I mean,
with
that's
that.
what we want.
And by Monday night, we were going to do it tonight, and we didn't get it done with
What's the
everything.
alternative? You know, we continue to do it like we're doing, and we're just,
And we're going to
Yeah,
incur
just-
repair costs.
yeah, just, we're not solving the
So
problem.
between the
But-
two, it's like 20,000.
Well, you got 9,500 and 5,000, so that's.
Well, it's 17.
Oh, no, I was-
17
yeah.
and
Oh,
three.
no,
about-
oh, 17 and 3, yeah, you're about
Yeah.
For the
$20,000.
sod and the piece of equipment.
Right.
So let's go, I say let's go that way.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Um, Could-
And those two were 14,000, you were saying.
In a
That you
trade,
know of at
trade,
least.
trade-in value at least, plus, the Aerovator, brand new, is about $14,000, $15,000.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, and, I mean, it only has minimal hours on it, I forget.
I bought 2 of them up there.
Okay.
what'd you use them for?
Any idea on resale value on that?
Trade-in, I mean, Exeter Township was interested in it, and they were looking at anywhere between $4,000 and $7,000.
All right, so then we're pretty much there.
And we have a top dresser that we don't use. I mean, there's a lot of equipment in the barn up at the middle school that for the few times that we're gonna ever use it, it's cheaper to get rid of it and go rent one for $100, $200 a day.
Right.
You know, rather than having a $6,000, $7,000 piece of equipment here.
My only concern is that we do this, we get the equipment, we get the sod, and then we back burner the things to sell. Well, we didn't get around to it or
No.
whatever.
No, we're going to get it
I'm
done.
worried about that.
No.
I think.
Keep it
That's
on
right.
the tickler file for your
Right.
agendas.
And I think, I'd like, I mean, I think we kind of authorize that beginning of that process at the same time we authorize the purchase or
Okay.
whatever.
You present this Monday night, we'll have it advertised Tuesday morning.
I'd like to suggest too, and I don't necessarily foresee an issue with you, but like you said, it's a matter of using it properly, and you know how to use it properly. I think we have to hold people's feet to the fire on using it properly too, because if the purpose of it's buying it to maintain the fields, then if they're not using it right, that should be documented. And I mean,
certain guys are going to use it in the beginning until I feel confident with other people having the care to use it, the personal ownership to use it.
Yeah.
And it's a brand new piece of equipment. I want to make sure I have a responsible person on it as well.
Right.
Probably not people that ghost ride golf carts down the hill, you know. They should probably be off.
Are we gonna pick that scab again? I guess.
It's fun.
I mean, we all know, and and I'm not saying we have them, but in life, we all have employees that do the minimum to get
Correct.
the job done. And the baseball fields aren't really what you need to do the minimum on.
Correct.
They can weed whack or something. So.
Correct. They can spread mulch and do flower beds.
There you go. I guess you can't do that with the kids around here, but the last few years we've been really successful with the Montgomery County Prison has like the white collar people getting out or whatever. They have like a little work crew. And we get them for a couple weeks in the spring, and they do all our mulching and spring cleanup. No, they're like DUI offenders. We've had people go, "Oh my God, you're bringing criminals into our neighborhood," but they do a great job.
Pink uniforms.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you can't really have them around the kids at school, but they do a great job for us. They pick up trash along the roads, clean up the parks. Wait, no, I think I honestly
And I just
think
printed
they
this
did
out. You
use
guys,
some
this
of
is
one
just
of
for
the
your own
parks
info
down here,
of what
and somebody
equipment that we
escaped, walked
currently
away or
have.
something from
This is
it.
the fleet and
This is
ages
the fleet.
and mileages and hours.
Where's the bucket truck?
We deleted the bucket truck and the backup.
Oh, all right. This is exactly okay.
Wow, we do have quite a bit of equipment.
More equipment than we have manpower to run.
The 950 John Deere, the 770, and the 4310 are the front end machines with the front buckets on them. Just to give you an idea.
What was the first one, the 950?
The first two and
then
the 4310.
Okay.
And you would keep the 4310?
I would keep the 950 because that's the only one that can lift high enough to put stuff into our dump truck.
Wow, it's 1984.
Yeah, but they were built good back then.
Yeah.
It's still worth. That one's worth $4,000 in a trade.
Green and yellow.
Believe it or
holds its
not, it's
value.
green and yellow, so it's.
That's why we got to repaint that blue and white one over.
Where's our
in the
new
basement.
truck, Casey?
I was saying,
That's not on there yet.
This is just.
This is an older list.
Is the one we got rid of off of here, or was that the 2001 Ford 50? I was trying to remember what.
Those are the van. No, they're gone. The one that's scrapped, the ones that were scrapped are gone.
Okay, even the one that we replaced the new one
Correct.
with? Okay. All
Sorry,
right.
they didn't have mine on there.
So which ones on here would you get rid of?
It would be the 4310, the 2005 4310, and the 97 770 possibly.
Yeah, the attachments.
97?
The 1997.
1997.
The
second one down.
The second one of the John Deere equipment there.
The model 77.
And then
The
you
model
get, okay.
770, yeah.
Then you get rid of the aerator.
The aerator would go, and the Land Pride cedar could, the turf, the Land Pride
Cedar.
cedar would go as well. And that's just a slit cedar, a big industrial toe behind slit cedar.
What's the turf tiger? What do you use that?
That's a top dresser. That's how we spread the black pellets for the artificial turf.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A shit spreader. That's really what it is.
Okay.
You know, when you see the toe behind it, the big paddle, you get the big fan of crap coming out of it. That's just a smaller one of that.
Okay. Gotcha. Thanks for the explanation.
You understood though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, at some point though, too, would you be looking at one of these, or, I mean, you have the 5, 14, 30, or the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5, 14, 35s. I mean, would it make sense, and I know you're still looking at this probably, but to get rid of 1 or 2 of those and get another, something different, or do those meet your needs?
No.
No.
We want to go
I mean,
wide.
Well, I would say it would make sense to have at
72
least
inches.
one really wide
Yeah.
one, I would think, for all the
72
grass you have.
6 foot is not enough.
You were talking about that a couple months ago,
Yeah.
getting a wider deck.
Yes.
the intent would be, just food for thought for everybody. Harry Amel, who is one of our grounds guys, said he's working 2 more years.
Okay.
My intent would be, in 2 more years, if he is gonna, when somebody retires from the grounds crew, that is when you buy the big wide area mower with the bat wings that come up, the hydraulic ones. It doesn't make sense now with the staff that we have, unless you guys are looking to get rid of staff and firing people. You know, for the equipment we have now and the staff we have now, we're okay.
You're saying when he goes, you wouldn't replace him?
I wouldn't replace him, no.
Replaces him with a mower.
I'd replace
He'd
them with a big
replace
old
with some
mower.
equipment.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
We don't take piecers on lawnmowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet, anyway.
And then it'll file grievances.
And just so you know, that mower would mow 10.5 acres an hour.
Wow.
It's like 1 pass in my backyard.
We need to buy more ground.
We need to buy more ground, yeah.
That's the last thing.
And the other part of the 1435s is, those 1435s, if I was gonna replace them today, as we own them now, they're about 30 grand.
Wow.
Between 30 to 35, $36,000. I would not buy that type of equipment
No.
again. I would buy a zero turn that you
mowers,
see every
yeah.
landscaper have,
Yeah.
that are faster, more maneuverable, and they're 11,000 bucks for the
Yeah.
top of the line zero turn.
So
So,
why are these, what makes them worth triple?
Well, they're
A zero.
3-cylinder diesels.
yeah.
Still a 72-inch stamped steel deck.
You don't need a diesel. I mean, you don't need all that to mow the grass. I mean, you just, like I said, we get to see.
And now they use, they put a
11,000
snow blower in the
RC
front of them, or they put a brush on the front of them for the winter time. We don't have to do that. You know, you can very easily buy a couple nice 3-foot wide walk-behind snow blowers that do the sidewalks here, and you probably do them just as fast. Because the guys, they're not as
But you'd have to
maneuverable on the
walk.
sidewalks. I don't care.
Do these have cabs? Do the mowers have cabs? that
One
are-
does.
Yeah.
One has a hard cab, one has a soft cab, and the rest are open.
I think if you look at the dates here when this equipment was purchased, I mean, 11 pieces were purchased in 2005. We were in the height of our
Boom.
building boom.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there was just a lot of money flowing around and some
It's
more
true.
bond issues that were out
Wow.
there. And, you know, this is the same time they're contemplating buying their own bus fleet. Wow. So,
This is the mentality at the time.
yeah.
There's a lot of money for it.
Well, yeah, if you look at that, you're right. There's like 11 pieces of equipment bought in 2005 and a
Gotta be
truck.
A couple $100,000 for equipment there.
Oh, easy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
You got a truck, you have a truck, you've got these 5 tractors, you've got the Gator, you've got another 4 machines in the
Yep.
area, Truck Tiger, Land Pride, and Ranger.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of equipment.
What did we build in
And the board wanted to buy
2005?
another van.
2005, they started MEC.
Okay.
They're starting that process for MEC. I think they just finished up in middle school.
What's the cornerstone on the middle school?
It's 9 years now. This is the 9th year.
2005.
That's what I was thinking, yeah, so, okay. So it's probably all under the guise that they needed all this for the middle school fields, I would guess. All right.
You got $50 million to burn.
Right. Well, now we're paying for
I was
that.
gonna say,
It's
who's
not like
gonna
there's
go to the
landscapers out there that cut grass.
No, not, there's no landscapers around. You know, and it's funny, sometimes we should even, you could probably work deals like, well, we'll let you do the advertising, or you'll be the official landscaper that's endorsed by the Daniel Boone Area School District. What's the best price you can give us to mow?
Put your name on the fence.
Yeah.
Get
on the banner.
But is there anything wrong with that?
No.
No,
I
you
don't
know.
have an issue with that.
He would be, he'd be like,
All right, so as far as the
United people who work for us.
to recap on the turf, our recommendation will be to purchase that machine and lay down that turf and start the process to sell the equipment. Okay, and that's all you got under equipment for right now?
That's all for
Yes.
tonight.
Till next month, when we
Yeah,
get more
wait a
bad
minute now.
news?
That sounded like you left the door open there.
All right, the security
Well,
agreement.
both of these two guys have smiles, so you know they're hiding cards up their sleeve.
Every month we get, we found this skeleton this month.
It's not that thick because I haven't sat down and worked through the processes of the equipment, trust me.
Let's just say I think I know why everybody retired, resigned, or left in the last 3 years.
Yeah, right. kind of Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Good
real
work. This
seriously.
is exactly what I was looking for.
And I'm going to try to update that like every 6-8 months
Yeah.
as I think of it. Just
on a different subject, you're going to put the electric brake in one of those vans?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, now it
Once the-
happened.
No, we have it. We have it. It's just not installed.
When we ordered it, when those vans are spec'd to be bought, they were supposed to come with a complete tow package.
Oh,
And they never got electric brake put them. And I can understand that they're pretty easy. It's all modular. I think it is anyways, right?
Phil has it.
I mean, there's a harness in there.
It just
Be able to
needs-
plug- all you
just
do
needs
is
plugged in?
Physically mount it, once you level it, but they were never installed on either van. And we've been
Right.
towing the trailer for all this time with them.
alrighty.
But
With
luckily, they don't have a lot of weight to them.
with no brakes. No
Like
trailer.
no electric
No
brakes.
electric
Yeah,
brakes.
he was playing with the hydraulics.
Alrighty, well, moving on to security agreement.
Okay, last meeting, I had mentioned that I struck upon the fact that we had security resource officers, whatever you want to call them, in the high school that were being paid, have been paid for a couple of years, but we had no agreement with them. So I handed this over to the solicitor, and what you have before you tonight is the security services agreement at the rate we are currently paying.
Not to interrupt, but maybe Andrew, since you're here, I don't know if you can shed any light on this. We pay these 3 guards that are here in the school all the time. Is that something that was agreed on at a meeting, or is that?
Brought them in.
I know
We
we.
brought them in when we had the issue with the, like, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
It was because
They've
my
been there
daughter
2
was there
years.
that year with
Yeah,
the
we brought them
backpacks.
in with the whole issue of the racism
Right.
stuff that was going on, bag checking and all that kind of stuff. And, they're still here. I'm not sure why they're still here.
I was going to ask, do we need them?
Do we
Well,
need-
and that, I was just saying. I mean, was it just kind of at administration's best
that
judgment, or
It was
is
an
it?
overreaction to a minor incident. That's
Well,
what it all was.
Well, I don't want
know
to
if
say
it's an
that. I just
overreaction,
don't.
Because, somebody, there's fights and there's somebody whose life was being threatened, but I think after the brouhaha calmed down, I don't know why we still need that now.
Or that we need 3, or that, because I got to
Because
tell
we
you.
call them in for certain things, like, we had an issue at, a couple of town hall, or a couple of the board meetings in the beginning where we had to bring security because we were getting a little crazy. We've had situations where, obviously that situation at the high school, we've had stuff at football games or other things where we've had them on call, and when we needed them, they would come in, but it
That's a
wasn't.
separate deal. The 3 guys are paid one rate, and
Yeah.
then as needed, I'm passing. the
As
invoice.
needed, it's $26 an hour, and
How much? What was it?
if it's as needed, it's $26 an hour. If it's the daily, it's $21.50 an hour. It looks like for the daily. Well, that's my question. Do we need 3 here all day, every day?
And I have a little bit deeper of a question. 2 weeks ago, I dropped something off at the high school, walked right in. Nobody was at the desk when I walked back. An elderly gentleman in his 60s, late 60s, with a cane, walked up and sat down there at the desk.
But the door wasn't locked?
No, I just walked around.
You didn't even have to buzz?
No.
Oh.
And there was
Wait,
nobody. There
a
was nobody at
security
the
guard
desk. And
has-
the gentleman I mean, a very nice guy, very pleasant, said hello, but I'm sorry, you couldn't
Hit you with his
stop.
cane.
I mean, if the little kid came in there, you couldn't even stop that kid, let alone if somebody was, you had to be physically restrained. If you're paying
Every month.
$21, $26 an hour.
He has
I
called,
would expect somebody,
but
at least with
the big one
physical
is every
capabilities
month.
to
We get, it's
prevent
emailed the
you
first
have
day of the
some
month. I got it
kind
today.
That's ridiculous.
I think
That's what
besides
prompted
that,
it.
We have 3 elementary schools, a middle school and a high school.
That's it.
And we only have security at the high school. So, I mean, do we
Well-
really need it?
My understanding is they don't do the bag checks anymore.
That's right.
They're crossing guards,
So-
they're traffic police out at the high school entrance, and they're traffic police at the end of the annex on the driveway, so parents go up to the
Right, well, we could
annex
hire
end.
we could hire a crossing guard for
and
an
then
hour
there's
in the morning.
One, I guess, at the front desk, and then when they're done directing traffic, they come inside. And there's, from what I understand, you have to verify this with the high school principals and stuff as to what they do during the day. That I cannot answer for.
Are we paying $21.50 an hour for a crossing guard?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is $84.50 a month. $8,449.
So that's-
It's 92,000 a year.
that's,
Yeah.
that's,
Hey, I see a place where you say some.
well, I was gonna say, I mean, I'm glad that you're looking at,
I mean,
well, why are we
honestly,
paying these guys?
I
But
don't remember as a board, I mean, I remember when we talked about, Dr. Otto said, look, we need to bring in security because of the situation. I was under the impression it was a temporary situation and that they were gone. But the fact that they've stayed there for another 2 years, every day,
Well, I'll tell you,
When all this happened, because a couple of you weren't here, but when all this happened, you had the metal detectors?
yeah, we had metal detectors, they
You
were
had
bonding.
clear bags they had to
Right.
have?
they were doing bag searches. Yeah, I mean, I've been told that there's kids come in class and they're talking to the security guard why they should be in class. Like, it's not like they're actually, it's not like the security guards are there to, or, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a security guard and you see a kid that should be in class, you shouldn't be hanging out talking to them. You should be going, where are you supposed to be, and walking them to the principal's office.
I think you let them go entirely.
I agree with letting them go, but here's the question. In my mind, what's our liability if we don't?
We didn't have it before.
And you don't have them in
We
your
don't-
4 other buildings.
We don't have a specific threat. I mean, I think before we do anything with this, I think we should talk to Brian and see, or not even Brian. I think you should talk to. I think we should talk to the new principal too and see if what his thoughts are.
my issue was from a payment standpoint.
Oh.
When I saw the first invoice, and I said, where's the contract? And it couldn't be located, so I said to payables, contact the vendor and ask for a copy of his contract. He emailed a blank contract to me and said, if you really want a contract, I'll accept this. I called him up. I said, isn't it a case of what I'm going to accept? I want to see the current contract. Oh, he said, I've never had a contract. And I said, tell me how long you've been here. He said, 15 years doing athletics, etc. 2 years in the building. And I said, and who directs you? Well, I just have 3 guys that show up and I send you a bill. I said, who set your rate? I'm not going to say who he told me sets his rate. But nevertheless, he's been being paid $21.50 an hour
For 3 guys.
$92,000 a year with no contract, no questions asked. So I put the halt to it and said, I'm at least going to have a contract in hand. If my auditors come next June and say,
Yeah.
what do you got to support these payments?
Right.
He's been under the radar for 2 years.
Ground.
I'll accept that.
Let me ask Andrew a different question. Before we had these people, what did we do for crossing guards?
I don't know. To be honest with you. I'm not at the high school every day.
No, there was somebody at the. I think there was somebody.
We
No, there
had,
wasn't.
this obviously, this security firm, we've used as an as-needed basis for sports events and things of that nature forever. And then,
That's right.
when the issue came up, when we had some problems, when we were dealing with the budget for the first time, and we were talking about kindergarten and sports, some of the board meetings got out of hand, and we had to shut the board meetings down, so we had security show up. And at the time, I believe, somebody got shot down in Florida, a board member got shot down in Florida, so there was a heightened awareness for security. And 6 months later, we had the issue at the high school, and the team was brought in to do security checks at the door and to sort of be there as a presence. But quite frankly, when that went away, I just assumed that the security guards went away. I mean, there was, like you said, there was no contract, we didn't sign anything as a board for anything long-term. It was supposed to be a temporary situation, but apparently it was a temporary situation that, 3 years or 2 years later. So I would say you let them go.
So my recommendation would be that honestly, I mean, I guess if you still needed us to sign that invoice, that's one thing, but I think the recommendation of the board should be to,
Let them go.
to have this, this month be our last service.
We didn't bring any security in to protect me, so.
Well, that's because we didn't really care.
I was on the right-hand side, out of the line of sight.
But
So
unless
that's the need.
somebody can give us a super justification for why we need these 3 guys in the building.
Megan would be the one.
Well, right, but I
I would
mean,
need-
you know what,
you would need to talk
they've got a week to come up with the reasoning,
I would be a little concerned
but
about not having anybody there in the morning, because typically when you walk in, okay, even if they buzz you in,
You just
when
walk right
security
in.
guard's there, but the office is usually filled in the morning with kids.
Right.
They're late, or they got something, they're in trouble, whatever, and nobody's watching. I could have walked right by and had access to the building.
But then it has to be mandated that that person has to be sitting there for that too. You know, I mean, like if you walk in and there's nobody there, what's the
I
difference?
think after the morning, and maybe the high school should probably give us some kind of opinion on it. But
You're talking one, you're not talking 3.
No,
right?
not 3. No, definitely not 3. But you should have someone there to control the access, because you can't. It's not like at the middle school, the elementary school. Kids walk in, and sometimes it's different. You can't tell the difference between the high school where kids that graduated and kids are going to school there.
Front entrance? Is a swipe card there?
I think so, but I don't carry one, so I just use my keys.
They have a fob, I think, at the high school.
It's
A reader
It's a
or
swipe
swipe
card,
card.
yeah.
And then if the parents go in, you have to ring a
Gotta get
bell,
buzzed in.
and then they buzz you in. But I've always been amazed that there's nobody there. I shouldn't say it. Justine graduated the year of the bomb threats, so I haven't been into the high school really since then. Not the bomb threats, but the racism things. But before that, you would just buzz and they'd beep you in, and there was nobody there.
Is the buzzing just a ringing of a bell,
Uh-huh.
or do you talk to somebody?
No, it rings. I mean, they can
Yeah,
talk
they
to you,
talk
but they
back,
usually
right.
don't.
Okay.
Usually they don't. You just hear the
Well, maybe we
buzzer
just-
on the door.
Maybe we just need to talk to Preston and say, look, you gotta have some procedures in place here and tighten up this whole thing on the front door, Talk to him about what he thinks about having a guard there. I would do that. Let's get his input.
No, I do think we need his input, but my gut reaction is
But not three.
Not 3.
we don't really need
Well,
that.
the contract's not enforceable, right?
Well,
It was
if we sign one, now it is, I would
It
think.
probably is
So.
helpful to have that person right there when you come up to the high school, because, so you don't have kids, people dropping their kids off in the front. Because then it's fouling up all the buses.
But I think we had
So-
somebody before. I don't know if it was from M&G or if it was a crossing guard, but because I used to drop Justine off before that, and I think
There
there
was
was
always someone there
an older gentleman
you
that
moving.
was there telling you to go that way.
All right, now here's the final piece that came into play at the same time I was working through this. I'll let Casey speak to it. That's the other sheet that I gave you, and it involves the weekend building checks.
Okay.
The weekend building checks currently, the head custodians primarily do the building checks. If you look at the breakdown sheet, I just have it listed by school and who the custodian is. And right now, it takes roughly, depending on the school, I just put 1 hour for each visit. Mark Kukaro, who does AEC in here, takes about an hour and a half. Tim Romick really takes about a half an hour to 45 minutes. Eric Wagner's about the same. Dave Wagner's about 15-20 minutes, and Kenny Templin's about a half an hour to 45 minutes. So on a generous side, I just put an hour. So they're technically working 10 hours that they're on site. School policy has been Mark gets paid 3 hours. It's 2 during the winter. It's 3 during the summer because he has dehumidifiers that he has to empty out downstairs here. So it takes him about a little over 2 hours to do that. But everybody else gets paid 2 hours. So if you look at, they work 10 hours, but we're actually paying them 22 hours.
Why are we doing that?
It's a
Okay?
multiplier for.
Because they have a
It's just
minimum call-out time, probably.
you know, an on-call, calling them in, they get 2 hours. So I extended that out, basing the three, like, we'll use Mark for example. He works his normal 37.5 hours. He gets 3 hours for Saturday. Well, now actually that's 3¼ hours because it's a half an hour of his 3 hours is overtime, so he gets paid an extra quarter of an hour. Well, then his Sunday hours are all time and a half, so really it's 4.5 hours. So I just did this for actual hours being paid, all right, rather than showing time and a half and stuff. So the 10 hours worked, actually we're paying them 26¾ hours, all right? So if we throw a dollar value in for $30 an hour, I didn't know exactly where our costs are for our staff. I know what they get paid an hour, so I think it's they get paid like 18. I threw $12 in for Benny's. I think I'm probably low on that, but I didn't really get into it too far. So 26¾ times 30 is $802.50
Per weekend.
per weekend. Now,
Why?
if we would hire an M&G or somebody, since it's a weekend, he said he would charge probably around $30 an hour for a weekend. So we're looking, if we base it on 8 hours a day, 2 days a weekend, that's 480. It's $480 bucks. It's 16 hours. So it's roughly a $300 a weekend saving. Now, part of that is they can do it in less time. So he said they're not asking to be guaranteed 8 hours. They said if it takes 5 or takes 6, you know, and literally I want to walk the building and actually say, okay, you're going to come in here, you're going to check this, check this, check this, and just see how long it takes.
They're going to have dehumidifiers?
We can ask them to, yes. As part of that, and I wouldn't see why they wouldn't do it. And maybe these dehumidifiers, we need to change the way we have them set up too. You know, maybe there's a way we can not
Empty
have
on
to have
Friday
them empty.
afternoon and
You
first
know.
thing on Monday morning.
So right now, you know, we're spending about $800 a weekend. Now that's not including holidays, days that you know. I guess it would be the holidays, so it's 11 other days that school's
overtime.
closed, that they're coming in, you
That's
know.
all overtime too, Ricky.
That would all be overtime then as well, because that's on top of their pay for the holiday.
And these
So-
same guys do it every weekend?
Pretty much. For whatever reason, the head custodian has always done the coverage of events and building checks. I don't know why. I said there's no reason for that. It's supposed to be spread evenly. It says it right in the handbook that overtime is supposed to be spread evenly across all staff members. Now, like AEC, none of those guys want to work overtime. They don't
Right.
want to. So in the past, it was never offered to anybody else outside of that school. So you have 4 custodians over there, your head custodian and your 3 other custodians. If the 3 don't want it, the 1 took it. And really, Mark's like, I really don't want to do it, but it's part of my job.
I was going to say,
you know.
couldn't you have either one person do 2 schools or 3 schools,
Yeah.
or maybe this is a labor violation or whatever, you'd have to negotiate it, but like what we used to do at my old plant, because you had to work Saturday and Sunday in a wastewater treatment plant. I mean, somebody's got to, you know. So every week, somebody got off Friday, and they worked 4 hours Saturday. Listen, we made all kinds of jokes like that. but somebody, you know, so somebody had off on Friday and worked a half a day Saturday and a half a day Sunday, and they didn't get overtime. That was their schedule, and it rotated. There was 4 guys, so 1 week out of the month, it was your weekend on, and you had the next Friday off.
Yeah.
So you had a short week.
Just rotate.
And like, it seems silly to pay 5 guys when you could have 1 guy do probably all of it. And
I
And give
agree.
them the 10 hours, yeah.
but do we have to continue to?
But you're talking about contracting it out, right?
See, I'd be more worried about contracting it out if they were.
Contract it out, or you're not going to get agreements
I would
for
think.
contracting out work that's currently being done by our employees.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I'm bringing it up. That's.
I think you
know.
could,
That'll probably happen.
I like Tamara's idea better.
Yeah, I think you could knock this down to 1 or 2 people a weekend and rotate it through on a schedule.
In accordance with your handbook.
Is there anything in their contract that says they have to be paid 3 hours for 1 hour?
No.
That was just a Ken Smith agreement.
I don't know whose agreement that was. I just know that was the policy.
Which means if we have one person doing it and have them work 10 hours,
Well, really, one person can do this probably in about 5.
Well, there you
well, then
go.
we get paid
5
Right.
or 6 hours
Yeah.
each day.
So they get paid 5 at time and a half, which would be 7.5 instead of 26 and a half.
Couple of dirt
Right.
bikes right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, each day, so you're looking about 15 hours roughly.
Okay.
And most of them are cross-trained for the schools, right? Because they're not all at the same, they rotate among,
Correct.
not rotate, but they get moved around.
Right, and there's other staff that can do this as well. I mean,
Yeah.
all they do for building checks is they go in, they check to make sure there's no windows open, all the doors are locked and closed. We don't have any floods in bathrooms, you know, that nothing broken's blowing all over the place, and they check the mechanical rooms to make sure there's not a flood in
And
there.
can we actually tell that they actually go into the schools and do this? I mean,
Well,
Good point.
Yeah.
when I was at Wilson, that's what they had. It was called Guard 1. It's a wand, and then you have a button on the doors, and they actually, it's timestamp. They bring the wand back, and the wand goes in a reader, and it can give you a printout of minutes and timing and stuff like that.
What's a system like Outrun?
I forget what it was. I looked into it. I'd be lying to you if I told you what it was. It was not that expensive.
When we get cards swiped, that should, every time we swipe into a building out.
well, that we have cameras in some of the
Yeah.
schools too, don't
We
we?
should be able to tell what their times are in each building.
Yeah.
I know, it's a whole nother story.
Yeah. That's not on the agenda here.
Well, actually, it is, but
Oh, is
it's
it?
not on the list.
We'll rework this.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be to see if somehow you can cut that down. I think if you get a contracted out, you're going to get a grievance.
Yeah.
You might even get a grievance if you
I
try to
certainly
alter
would.
hours, but
Diversion of work.
hours, at least if you're giving it to your own people, you're just, I mean, there's no reason that
it
you
might
Unless
even-
unless you have
What a
a
grievance for ordering hours just based on, that's the amount of work that's
But
needed.
15 hours times $30 an hour. I mean, I don't know if that's, like you said, that might not be the number, but that's
Because if they-
$450.
Well, the thing is, if they don't really want to do it, then you may be able to ask for a memorandum of understanding
Right.
that it's
Yeah.
going to be taken out.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah, that's a good point.
And go ahead and contract it out then, you
Yeah.
mean, or have some,
If they don't want to do it.
Either they want to do it,
right?
you know, for what it's actually, you know, not the, you know, the 2-hour bonus for doing it.
It is.
What it actually is going to take them to do it, whatever Casey says.
That's
hey,
true.
This is, you know, if it's going to take 5 hours, I mean, you pay the person 8 hours, and you make sure they do everything, and that's what they get paid for.
Yeah.
Or,
I think you'd have somebody that would want it just for the extra bucks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure, and they can do it in their own time. I mean, they can do it in the morning, or they can do it in the afternoon, and
Right, they can pick the time of day. Yeah.
right.
so, and if they don't want to do it, then.
Because the other part of that would be is if there is a weekend event that they would have to cover, we could work that into their coverage as well, possibly, or to unlock doors or lock doors or whatever. You know, there's other nice things about having somebody here on the weekend kind of
Right.
patrolling that if something does need to be open, you know, even if I would have a contractor coming in to check something, you know, it'd be nice to say, hey, what time are you doing your checks this weekend? I'm going at 6 o'clock. All right, at 8 o'clock, can you meet Joe below
Right.
and unlock the door for him to get in, you know, or for deliveries or whatever. So, okay. I'll
That'll
work.
be an extra hour. But you know what? If they're there and they're going to do it, then great, you know.
All right, yeah, I guess we can go to the next one because I read what you sent, but the air checks. I think, well, the M&G security, we're going to go,
We're going to relook at it.
and you're going to get the high school principal to give some input, but right now we're looking at,
And I will,
Actually, I have to go up and see them tomorrow anyway. Do you want me to talk to Megan and Preston?
Can we, is that something, like, do that, more of a procedural question. So if they come back to us with some answers on that thing, I guess what I'm getting at is can we make some movement on that for the next board meeting Just because there's like a follow-up question, do we really need to wait for a whole nother facility?
I don't think so, because I think the committee's theory is we don't really need three
Yeah,
people.
I think we can put it out for discussion on the cow.
And is there anything that even needs to be voted on if there's no agreement in place anyway?
And let the board give their input at the cow, and if they want something to move forward at the meeting in 2 weeks, we can do that too.
I think it's more of a, if they want it, then we move this forward.
Right.
I don't know, you have to vote to have them.
Yeah, that's just
There was no
administrative
vote to bring them. There was no vote to bring the security in the first place.
Right.
It was a
Right.
decision by the superintendent to bring them in. There was a tacit consensus of the board that that was all right on a temporary basis, and then it just stayed. So as far as I'm concerned,
You could just go.
it was temporary. I mean, they can go. You know, whether we want to bring somebody back in for whatever the reason, traffic control or the first 2 hours in school morning or something else.
That would be a recommendation from high school administration.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
mean,
I like that
obviously
one.
For now, you know, let them.
Because honestly,
Why
what's
keep
gonna,
changes?
my fear is what's gonna happen is if we bring up to vote to get rid of them,
Well,
somebody, not get rid, but to not have them, there's gonna be some kind of an outcry as to why we have to have them.
Yeah, I'd rather just let that be.
So if we do it more of a,
Takes
of
care
a,
of itself.
of a vote on, or a proposal or a recommendation from the board as, or from the high school principal as to what we do need, then we can vote on what we do need,
That's right.
as opposed to what we don't need.
and this can go
Correct.
away.
Yes.
I'll pay the bills for services rendered, and you'll approve the bills on the bill list.
But for now, are they still sending 3 security guards up, or is that over?
No, they're
Well,
still sending
as
them.
of right now, they're operating under what they've been doing for 2 years by saying, the
Sooner
sooner,
I need to call them and tell them, somebody needs to call them and tell them,
You're done.
yeah, you're done.
all right, I'll tell the superintendent in the morning.
All
I'll
right.
email her tonight.
Okay.
Just want me to talk to Megan and Preston tomorrow.
I'll tell her in the email that the committee is seeking input from the high school administration for
Okay.
what is necessary for resource officers and crossing guards.
Okay. Building air quality checks.
We received a request from a doctor of I forget what grade the girl is in, over at Birdsboro Elementary. She's supposedly sensitive to mold. And since she is now at Birdsboro, she is having issues, or she's uncomfortable, or I forget exactly.
Let me guess, did she go to MEC before and now because of this split it was?
I'm not
Oh.
sure, but she's at Birdsboro now, and she feels that she's having some sinus issues because of the air quality at Birdsboro. And the doctor says she's sensitive to mold, and they would like an air quality check done. And if we can't provide an air quality report, then they would like her moved to another school. I reached out to the other facility directors in the county to see who they use for air quality. We did an air quality check over at AEC right when I started, which I felt was very expensive for what we got out of it. It was like $1,600, $1,400 or $1,600, if memory serves me correctly. And it took forever to get the report. The response time was horrible. So going around all the other directors, the one had mentioned using the IU-13 is the Lancaster Lebanon version of our BCIU. They have a whole division of people in their IU-13 that are just for contracted services. For everything from ballast recycling and bulk recycling, and they're starting to reach out to other areas with it. They've contracted with a company out of Lancaster, and they're going to do it for, I believe it is $400 a site. So my thought was, if we're bringing them in, do Birdsboro, do Monocacy, do the middle school, and do the high school. We already did AEC, and their price is at per site. So we can just do Birdsboro if we just want to do Birdsboro. I think we should do all 4 of them, so we have a clean bill of health for all 4 of them. So we can say to parents, if they complain, here it is.
Well, this is kind of turning into fishing creek here. Why don't we just transfer the student?
Because my concern is, what happens if you do show something?
Right, exactly.
That's another
In
question.
one of the
Say
schools. Now we got, I mean, we're hoping that we get a clean bill of health, but God forbid we don't.
What if it is that the scenario that was mentioned, that they didn't want to go to Birdsboro, they wanted to stay?
Oh, then everybody starts?
Yeah, then you just open
Yeah.
that door,
Right.
and then.
Here's the,
That's the
You know,
answer to Larry's question about why we don't just transfer the student.
Yeah.
here's the other part of this, and have to think of where mold grows. Mold grows in dark, cool, moist climates.
Yeah.
We're heating season. There's nothing dark,
Oh,
cold, or moist
okay.
anywhere.
True.
Birdsboro is a hot water boiler system. The air in those classrooms is drier because of by design. It's just the way it works. My gut response is now she's at Birdsboro, and now that heating season has been kicking in high gear, the air's drier. She has sinus issues.
Right.
Dry air is going to give her sinus problems, you know.
It's dry air with no humidifier.
Right.
There's no humidifier, which they're not saying anything about the humidity levels. They're saying mold. Well,
There's been rumors that Birdsboro is full of mold and they run dehumidifiers and they're all, it's been said a few times before.
they run dehumidifiers during air
During the
conditioning
summer.
season, correct?
Yeah.
They do.
But
So-
is it a result of the building, you know, something wrong with the building, or is it just how it is?
It's in the side of a hill. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the way it's designed. I mean, it's just the location, and
Yeah.
But if you don't do the test, you're probably going to get a lawsuit.
if you don't do the test, now you're saying to the community, hey, we're trying to hide something.
There's
Right.
that. There is that.
You know, I think you're in a catch-22.
Has anybody talked to Subers?
What's that?
Has anybody talked to Subers about what our liability?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's-
when
that's
the issue
issue.
came up at AEC was because you had the two teachers that were, one on top of another, had some rare form of brain cancer, and they were saying it was the building and the whole 9 yards.
Who
And,
paid for that, though?
what's that?
I guess where I'm going with this is, if somebody's alleging we have an issue, now suddenly we're spending a lot of money to prove that we don't have an issue.
Right.
And then when we're done proving that we don't have an issue, you're like, oh, okay, thanks for narrowing that down.
Right. Do we?
We just spent $1,600.
Right.
My
I
question
would-
is, are we
if the teacher was
legally?
the ones complaining about there's a, you know, like a brain cancer because of your building, and we went and did an air test, and it turned out it was fine, I would have said, you know what, here's the invoice
Here's the
for
Yeah.
testing our building. And I take the same approach with this child. I'd be like, you know, this family, I'd say, look, you know, we're happy to test the building, but at the end of the day, we come clean. Who's gonna pay for this cost?
Right. Why should that be on the taxpayer?
Because at the end, now you're gonna have anybody, whoever wants to, because an air building quality test is a snapshot, right? It's
I-
just
I
a picture in time, and that's it. I can come back a month later and say, you know, gee, I'm getting a headache in this other part of the building that I haven't been in before. Now you need to do another test.
Got
But you say,
radon.
well, we tested it 2 months ago, it was fine. Well, that was 2 months ago, something's changed.
It never.
And now we're doing it again.
Yeah.
So I would talk to Subers about this first and just say, hey, look, what's our liability
Yeah.
to prove that we have a clean building? And if there is some liability, okay, is there any kind of arrangement that you can make in terms of who pays for what at the end of the day? If we have a problem, or we've identified a problem, then obviously we absorb the cost and we solve the problem. But if there's no problem, you know, 3,500 students in the school system, I mean,
That could get out of control.
anybody can start calling us and the teachers, and, you know, I could just see this thing going on and on and on.
Oh, yeah, it could conceivably, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's dead right. Somebody just doesn't want to be at Birdsboro, they prefer to be at Monocacy probably, and they got moved, and now they're complaining that they got moved somewhere else.
I mean, I know if we have a problem, it's a legitimate complaint. But like they said, do we have a legal liability to do that? Because if not, what happens? How do we respond to everybody?
I
So
agree with Tamara. Let's don't go on a full-scale testing exercise just based on one piss-ass complaint, excuse my French.
No, no, it's fine.
I think that's bad business. I just don't agree with it. And no, transfer the child back, whatever. I mean, that's crazy. Spend all this money that we don't have over.
And the air quality in the other building could be worse.
Yeah.
It could be.
Could be.
Could be.
Well, I
Yes.
think that's the question for Brian Subers, is are we obligated to prove a negative?
Right.
Yeah. Who takes the to-do on that?
So you guys can check with Brian?
Yep.
And then
But simultaneously, I think it's a good idea, you've done the homework, so the decision if it needs to be made, we need to get somebody out there, we got this company to do it.
right, if he says we have to
Yeah.
do it, then we're okay, I mean,
And that's why I
yeah,
wanted to
no.
bring it up, just to, you know, hey, here it is.
I think the price is good, much better than what you had
Oh, my
before.
God.
Oh, yeah. That's great, $400. And that's why, that's the only reason I'm thinking if we would do it, just do one site, because if you can call them any old time and it's always the same price per site. Yeah.
I need air quality testing. All right,
What?
I heard
See something? You woke him up.
sidewalks,
And actually, I can just give everybody one of these.
I don't need one, I'll listen to you talk.
All right, well, middle school sidewalks, if anybody has gone to the front of the middle school lately, the right-hand side of the canopy at the arc part of the driveway, I don't know if there was a bad batch of concrete when that was poured, but you can definitely see where the salt has just destroyed the concrete in those areas. As part of that, we have an issue. That's the first thing. That's going to have to be replaced this summer.
What's the damage there?
The proposal from Farino was $7,100. That's a 1 8x11 area, 1 6x3 area, a 24x8 area, a 28x12, and a 4x4 area.
Could we convert it to turf?
Can I convert it?
It has water.
It has the water. With that, this is an issue that I found out has been an issue, and I talked to KCBA Architects when they were here about it. We actually had to grind the sidewalk on the exit doors by the CAF because the sidewalk had pushed up to the point where the doors no longer open.
Is this the same architecture firm that did the thing at Monocacy with the underground spring, I'm wondering, you know?
Correct.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Same company.
Are you serious?
So
I said, let's not use
I
it.
talked to them,
Planted water under
and they're
blacktop and under the sidewalk.
yeah. I talked to them, and they said the way it's supposed to be installed, and there again, I don't know if it is. Your sidewalk is here. They're supposed to put a frost-free footer at the edge of the sidewalk and pin that into the building's foundation. So therefore, if the ground does get moist and heave, it doesn't push the sidewalk up. It has heaved so bad again that the door is no longer open.
That's a serious fire hazard.
Luckily, we have enough exit doors in the immediate area that we're okay.
Okay.
You're okay for the fire marshal, but it's still a hazard.
It's still a hazard, correct.
Yeah.
So there's another pad outside of a science room. That's an exit door. The door no longer opens. Now we've had an extremely wet winter, extremely cold winter, but this sidewalk is going to have to be addressed as well come this summer. We've already ground 3/4 of an inch off of it, and it's already pushed enough that we can't open the door again. So, and of course that was the door that the sprinkler head froze 2 weeks ago and flooded that area. So now it really pushed up because the water went out that door and got underneath the sidewalk, and so it's a kind of a combination of a few things. If you didn't know, a head broke the other week, 2 weeks ago.
I think it was in
In
the
that vestibular area. So our guy has insulated everything really well, and we ripped the drywall ceilings out, and we're going to put a standard drop ceiling in. But as part of that was all of the vestibule heaters were turned off. Every heater in every doorway was turned off inside the unit. So therefore, we had no heat in those vestibule areas, so therefore, that's how things froze.
Why was the heater turned on?
I'm assuming to save energy.
But who made that?
Who made that call?
Yeah.
That was Ken Smith, according to the guys.
Oh,
I
so
mean, they were
that's,
purposely turned off.
They were purposely turned off. They were physically turned off.
And this is, last year they did this?
For years.
So these have been off for years?
These have been off for a while.
Well, I mean, I guess if we haven't had a break, that makes sense, but when it's -9 degrees outside. then
Right.
it's
Correct.
Right.
The threshold where it got too cold.
Correct.
So,
So, but those sidewalks, that we're gonna need some sidewalk repair in that front part of the school and one pad in the back.
How many quotes you getting on these guys?
I only got one just for now, just to give you an idea.
What's that run? Yeah, there's stuff
So-
we're talking about.
What's that? I haven't even gotten those prices yet. Because there again, I didn't know if we were gonna lump this all in, if we get the architect a record, if we're gonna lump this all into one big project and do it all as one, while the concrete truck is that, yeah.
Probably
So-
makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Now, this is just at the middle school, right?
correct.
I'm curious, we spent a fortune on a reserve study. Was any of this sidewalk stuff in the reserve
Oh,
study?
that's a good point.
I'd have to look for it.
Sidewalks
I
are
don't remember.
mentioned, but it's just,
sidewalks are going to be a replacement schedule all
Yeah.
the time. I mean,
Yeah.
unless something's physically pointed out to an engineer walking around, they're not going to notice whether or not we've had a history of issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, the engineers that walked around.
And Larry, to answer your question, you said was it the same architect as MEC? It's also the same architect that did AEC and the floor in the cafeteria at AEC will not hold
Really the lowest bidder.
the tile properly.
Correct.
I make a motion, we fire the son of a bitch.
well. the
Said I
point
wouldn't
is you
even
don't-
send him a proposal.
If
Yeah.
well, but if you advertise the RFP and he responds, you've got a reason he's not a responsible.
But do you have
Yeah,
to,
You can reject it.
do you guys have to do proposals for that? Or is that considered a professional service?
It's a
And
professional service, but by putting together an RFP, you get uniformity of response.
correct, but I think what I was
don't
saying,
have to
I don't know that you have to
advertise
advertise
it.
it, you can send it.
That's right.
And maybe we
I see what you're-
specifically
Yeah, we
send
could
it
send it
to
to
people
certain
we
firms.
want. Or, I mean,
Yeah.
not that we want, but that we don't not want. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yes, it's the same as
That's what we
auditing.
wish to exclude.
Any architect or auditor is a professional service.
I mean, from where I sit, Casey, I would just, while the concrete truck is there,
Correct.
that's from where I
Correct.
sit, that makes a lot of sense.
And the other piece is, if that slab of concrete is supposed to be pinned,
And it's
it
not.
needs to be done right,
Yes.
not just replacing.
Whatever needs to be done right to rectify all this heaving that's going on.
I'm assuming that 10 years later, if it wasn't done right, we really can't go back after the I mean, I would assume the architect would have had
what's the
inspectors.
latent defect?
Did you have a construction management firm,
I don't,
like a Fidavia or a Quandel or anybody like that?
I don't know.
I haven't.
The
I know-
architect served as the project manager.
No, really?
They do.
Yeah, some of them do.
Yeah.
Fox guards the hen house.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, our engineer does our inspection, but they actually
Right.
have an inspector there. Saying,
Yeah.
I don't know that means it's always done right, but
So we're going to turn the heaters back on in the vestibule?
They're on.
Okay.
They were on the very next morning. At about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, we went around and found they were all turned off.
Okay.
So what I actually had the guys do that afternoon, I had them open all the interior doors to the main hallways, to the vestibules for the night, just to get air in there. And what we're going to do also is in the drop ceiling, I'm going to put some grills in there that can be manually opened and closed. So if we have a really, really cold spell, we can open up those grills and just get warm air up in there, just to temper the air. It's a very inexpensive way to try to keep it safe.
Sounds reasonable.
So,
Right.
so if you go into the middle school and you see vestibules all torn apart, that's why we're in the process of, because the first one broke. I fixed it, I left, and then when Dave and Mike Gawley got the system back up and running, the next one over on the other side of the office towards the gym started to drip. So I just said to him, I said, just cut a hole in the ceiling, turn that loop off, and change that head out. So they changed that head out, and then everything else stayed tight. I said, open up every door you can, except for, of course, the outside doors, but just open everything up. And
Okay.
so,
Sounds good. I'm glad.
All right, is that all for the list for tonight?
That's it, I believe. Did you have anything?
Just one more
Oh,
thing.
you-
He always has at least
No,
one more
well, I have a
thing.
bunch.
Yeah.
There's 22 there, but this is,
You're gonna call him one more case?
no, the asphalt. We have a lot of cracks that we need to seal once the weather turns. That's good. The unfortunate part is we're going to have to do it on the weekends because it's all parking lots and driveways and stuff like that. So what I'm going to try to do is talk to some of the guys and see if they'd be willing to work Saturday and Sundays and take 2 days off during the week possibly, you know, and maybe schedule it around them trying to get some time off. You know,
Right.
I'll try to make it very inviting to them
Yeah.
to do it that way. You know, it is a 3-person job. One person has to blow out the cracks, one person has to drive the truck, one person has to apply the sealer. So it is a 3-person job, minimum.
We have the expertise to do this by ourselves.
We rent the equipment.
Okay.
Sealmaster actually makes, I had Sealmaster come down, they make the asphalt. He actually goes on one of the satellite sites, and he does an overview picture of the school, and then he can measure the square footage of the parking lots, and he's driven every parking lot to see how bad the cracks are, so he's made estimates of how much material he feels that we're going to use to fill those cracks. Then we rent the equipment from them. We buy the product from them. It's actually very, very easy to do. It's just a time-consuming process.
How much money are we talking about?
Oh, let's see. I quickly threw this together. Let's see. Monocacy Elementary, we're looking crack sealers, striping, crack seal. He's estimating 1,500 pounds to seal the cracks at Monocacy. It's $6 a pound. So that's about that's 94. Anyway, sealer, crack sealer. Hang on.
Well, but that is
Striping,
something, well, it
equipment,
used to be
material
in the
costs,
budget, in the
rental.
capital, I mean, the
Right.
plan.
The seal
but-
coating unit
Yeah.
is, and he did this different here. Seal coating unit, 2 days, 430. Crack sealing unit. Oh, crack sealing unit is $360 a day. The crack sealing materials will be $1,100. It's $1 a pound roughly for the crack sealing. Sorry, he has sealer to seal the macadam as well. So Monocacy, you're looking 1,500, 2,200, figure about $3,000 till you're all said and done to do that. The middle school's probably the worst one. Actually, here's probably the worst. This building in the high school. Like if you want to drive the middle school, you can see every seam where they paved.
Well, have you got estimates on all
Yeah.
the buildings?
Yeah, which I can give you.
Well, I would just rather just
All right.
I needed to break down just the building. I don't want to get into the whole minutia of the
All right,
crack
let me just
sealer
do this.
costs and all that.
Okay, middle school. About 4,500. Monocacy,
It's 3,000.
Yep.
I see you said 3,000, right? Right.
Amity Elementary, 2,800. Admin,
That'd be here, right?
yeah, sorry, the primary, about 21.
State contract?
Hmm?
Is he state contract?
Yeah. And then.
Yeah.
Broke 10 grand.
High school, looking about 5,000. Just because the parking lots are so big. And then Birdsboro Elementary is about 2,100.
It's around 19.5.
Uh,
That cover all the schools?
I think thinking 20, yeah, and then you have to do the daily rental of the
That
three-
includes the equipment and the material, and then our staff.
How many weekends do you think for all of that to do every building?
It's gonna.
One weekend per building?
Yeah.
Well, can
Yeah,
they do some of it in the
We
summer?
can do a little here and a little there. We can do a weekend or,
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
the
was gonna say,
schools
why
are
couldn't we
closed
do
in the
it
summer, right? So can't you rope off sections of parking lot for whoever has to be there?
as long as we're not mowing grass. If we have a dry summer, my intent is to wait till summer to do it.
Right.
But as long as if we don't have a dry summer, but we're going to have to do some at the middle school pretty soon. There's a crack in the middle school that's that wide. I have a picture of my foot over top of it, so it's half the width of my foot. So we're going to do some of the bad areas that have the big cracks here, once the ground dries up.
I'd be really interested in, and I should know this because I'm on the negotiations committee, but if their contract, does the contract spell out that they work Monday through Friday? Or does the contract say they work 40 hours a week?
37 and a half.
Or whatever, because I'd be interested if we can just tell them they're working Saturday and Sunday and have, I mean, that's obviously a super's
Right.
question before you do it, because I don't want to.
Talked about that
But
early on.
if it doesn't say they work Monday through Friday and weekends are overtime, I wonder if you can't just tell them that, I mean, you could ask for volunteers first, but.
And the other problem too is on the weekends is the buildings are still used while
Right.
school's in. So it is difficult to do it while school's in. But there again, if we don't have the staff available during the summer, this has to be done before next winter. We can't.
Easter week coming up.
Yeah, we can't go
next
another.
month, And then you should be able to do one school that week.
Right.
What do they have off, 3 days? Or, what do they have off for Easter this year?
You got 2 days taken away, right?
No, they're
No.
still intact.
Still in time?
Yeah.
Those are the next two to go.
Oh.
I
Well,
just wanted to. Sorry.
one is there. The third makeup day will be the in-service day prior to Easter break. And the fourth makeup day is Easter Monday.
But I just wanted to make you aware that is definitely something you're going to hear me bring up once we get firm numbers, now that we see how much they've opened up with the winter, with the amount of snow and everything. So, but
It's not something you budgeted for, huh?
what's that?
Not something you budgeted for, huh?
No. But it's definitely something we're going to have to do. If we don't do anything, we have to do at least the middle school in Monocacy before the fall.
You have to sell a couple more pieces of equipment.
Yeah. See what else you could scrounge up.
Casey's truck, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got the most value.
Yeah.
Let's sell some employees.
Yeah, really.
All right, does anybody else in the committee have anything they want to add or talk about, or?
We figure a couple months of not having that M&G contract around, and we can get all our parking lots fixed.
That's cool.
Well, one good thing, the highway permit for Monocacy, KCBA did reach out to Cowan Associates and has put a fire under their rear, so they have supposedly reissued all the paperwork to PennDOT.
What's that for?
There's a highway occupancy
He never got
permit
closed
that has
from
not
Monocacy.
been closed from
Finalized.
Monocacy being built about power poles or utility poles being too close to the right of way.
Oh, you weren't at the meeting, the last meeting.
Go on.
Yeah.
I hear noise in the background.
No.
Starting I found this folder here, and right when I started, I remember an extension coming in the mail. It cost us what, $20? I think
Been renewed every year.
been
since
renewed every year since 2009. And it's in regards to, there are supposedly telephone poles of either electric company, cable, whomever, that are too close to the right of way for PennDOT. Now, supposedly from the staff says those poles were moved, but nobody ever finalized the paperwork with PennDOT. Cowan Associates, who was the civil engineer for KCBA, didn't do their job. KCBA thought it was done. When they were here, I asked them about it, so then they went back to them and said, hey, what's going on? And here the guy was going through a divorce or something, or whatever the story was, nor do I really care. But just to let you know that that process has been resubmitted.
Are poles legal?
I don't know yet.
Speaking of poles.
Well, if they aren't, who has to pay to move them? Us probably 7 years later, right?
We just keep getting stuck on.
Well, there's a line of credit.
Just never.
Oh, is there
Correct.
still?
There's a line of credit open or something like that as well.
Yep. To satisfy this.
Oh, there's
Satisfy
still,
the-
okay, a letter
the permit.
credit.
So,
Speaking of poles, the last meeting I remember, there, Union Township was having an issue with, there was 2 poles that
9th Street.
Ken gave him authorization to put up on.
I have not heard back from anybody on that. The last conversation I had with the girl from Union Township was, let me know if you need me to contact Birdsboro Borough or if your supervisors are going to contact them directly.
They're moving.
And she said, I'll let you know.
They're moving. For the sign, the welcome to Birdsboro sign, they're moving.
Why would they?
To somewhere else.
Yeah.
Birdsboro, maybe?
Yeah.
Hey, so let me ask you a quick question here, dear.
There's fine if they want to be that
When are we
way.
going to get a proper light and an all-weather flag for this flagpole?
I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
I received an email from Tom Lyons, who's the gentleman who wanted to rent the gym. He actually bought a solar-powered light for his flagpole. It's $125. I ordered it. It should be here, I believe, this week.
But they need it all with a flag, too.
Correct. I just have to pick one up, because the one we have is in absolute shambles.
You know what? Reach out to your rep or your senator. Sometimes you can get one from them.
Yeah, but it won't.
Stop that, you're gonna take away our, don't say that.
Yeah, he said
You're gonna
it
take
works,
away our,
it works absolutely
big
fabulous
money
for him. And when I
Well-
Googled it before, nothing ever really came up that I was confident with, and he
donated
said
two
it lasts 12 hours
to the museum.
on a
it's
charge,
just a
so.
ration.
I figured for $125, it's a whole lot
Dedicated
cheaper than
to be flown a
making
certain
a
day with the capital.
$3,000 investment if we don't have to.
Well, being solar powered, you don't have to run.
No, but they'll actually, I just think they'll give us a flag to
It's-
put out.
it has a clamp that hose clamps around the pole and it shoots up. It's LED, so it uses next to no electric. That's how
They're
the
like
solar power can last as long as
$300
it does.
those flags. Yeah, they're
It mounts right to the pole?
Need a bucket truck to put it up.
There you go.
No?
It mounts to the pole at the bottom of the pole, you really don't need to.
Ryan Costello.
I thought it was on the dome, shining down.
Yeah, because he was listening to the facilities minutes
I won't steal your flag.
from the last meeting, and he sent me an email. He goes, hey, just an FYI, and he sent me the link for the light that he has, and he
He
says,
was listening to the facilities.
Yeah.
Connor was dealing with it.
Well, no, they were the ones that were, they asked about renting for the martial arts program, so. Any other members of the public have any questions, comments?
I just had a comment regarding facilities and building closure and stuff like that. So we're going to be talking about it on Thursday night for the Finance Committee. I've been looking at our overall enrollment versus our capacity. And, I think I've shared a few things with the board so far overall. And I'm not sure whether this is a facilities issue or finance issue, but clearly we should be looking at, I think we need to come up with a plan, not only for next year and the year after, but like long term, because the birth rates that are projected, our enrollment is supposed to go from 3,500 to 3,000 students over the next 4 or 5 years. That's a whole other building, in addition to what we're already talking about. So I guess the question is, what is the best way to house our students going forward, and the buildings that we have. The high school is currently at about 80% capacity. The middle school is about 68% capacity. Birdsboro is at 60% capacity. So we have more buildings than we need. theoretically, you could push all the students into 3 buildings, AIC, the high school, and the middle school, all of our current students.
Wow.
So
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
theoretically, now logistically, whether that works, putting all these classes together, does that work? You'd be pushing 8th graders up into the annex, and there's lots of different things to consider. But I just think globally we need to be thinking about an approach to this that says, okay, look, we know we have a declining enrollment going forward. It's always easy to open another building if we need to, if we ever need to go back and open a building. But going forward, what's the long-term plan for us here? And not wait until our buildings are sitting at, all the buildings are sitting at 60% or 55% or something else to make a decision. It's a lot of money sitting out there, and I'm sure from the facilities maintenance perspective, there's money to be saved. From an energy perspective, there's money to be saved. From a personnel cost, there's big dollars to be saved. We're going to be looking at NEC, I believe, on Thursday as a building closure, but Birdsboro is probably not that far behind it in terms of sequence of events. So we have capacity at the high school. We've got capacity at the middle school. Overall, everybody's got to start talking about this and getting their brains around it because, the public, as much as we've talked about it the last 2 years, the stuff I see on social media blows my mind away.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that
I try not to pay attention.
Looking at closing 2 buildings.
Yeah.
2 of them.
Yeah.
This is one.
Yeah.
That tells you they've waited way too long to close the building. They're looking at 2. Neshaminy, just, they're switching to a 5-day program, and they closed the building. Twin Valley, Wilson, you look at some of those other documents I sent to you, where Neshaminy was doing some of their research on a 5 through 8 middle school. There's probably 5 or 6 school districts that all switched and consolidated classes because of declining enrollments over time. So it was Trinitron, it was Fleetwood, it was Wilson, it was,
Well, and Easton, yeah, I say Trinitron's they're a phenomenal school, and you said they're on a 5-day. I honestly, and I didn't, it wasn't an agenda item, and I wasn't really, we don't have the facts, but as far as the argument of the 5th grade, where they should be, if you got kindergarten and 5th grade together in the same school, I don't see a whole lot of difference between a 5th grader and a 9th grader.
Right.
You know what I mean? To me, there's
the other side of that argument. I went to parochial school. It's K through
right,
one
and you have that.
building, So, and it's workable. It's livable.
Did it have a steeple with just one bell on it too?
When I went, you didn't even have kindergarten. It was that long ago. So
I think, but
let me say something.
up the dirt road to.
Yeah. We walked 7 miles to get there.
Uphill both ways.
Barefoot. Let me say something for Andrew, though. Just, and I know you don't have a problem with public speaking, but just be prepared, because social media says, the drums are beating. The building's going to be full. A board member who shall remain nameless gave my phone number to Channel 69 News today, and I got a phone call and was interviewed, and basically told him that as a board we have an obligation to look at this because of the declining enrollment. And he wanted to know why our enrollment was declining. I said, because a former business manager had our birth rates, and our birth rates are declining. I said, on top of that, the real estate market decided that we're not building new homes, so our enrollment's declining. And I said, that's what Thursday is all about. I said, it's about talking about what do we need to do based on enrollment.
I think we have to be very careful in. We're analyzing enrollment trends and the impact of that. We're not, I don't look at it like we're talking about, and we are talking about closing a building, but that's the result of the discussion of the enrollment.
Right.
And I think people miss that. They just we're closing them. It's not, it's nobody set in that we're closing a building or what building. You're discussing enrollment trends and those projections and the impacts. And it is good that you brought that up with the potential that in 5 years or whatever we could be in 3 schools, because I think we should start looking at that and figuring out how to do that, because maybe there's a way, I don't know, is there a way you have the annex at the high school, right? Is there a way you can somehow rework that you could have an elementary school in a part of that building, so you still had it. I mean, it's not Birdsboro, but that you still had something on this side, and you had the high school. I don't know, but maybe there might be multiple ways to house the kids, and we should be thinking about it, so we're not just trying to figure out at the last minute how do we do this.
And
So I think it's good that you bring that up.
For Preston, we built a middle school not that long ago and took all these kids out of the high school. And Mr. Henkel expanded the high school into what was the middle school. And I think Preston needs to bring some of that back so that we know what space is actually available.
Right.
Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, the high school houses 1,442 students, and we've got like 1,100 up there. So there's capacity for 300 students. Now, I don't know how you want to slice it, whether it's by room or by whatever, but we have the annex and everything else, and like separate kitchen and separate this and separate that.
And separate cafeteria.
Separate cafeteria. You know, and I think overall there's got to be over the next 5 years, if enrollments continue to do, actually we're ahead of the enrollment curve as Tim Seldenbridge projected. We're supposed to be at 35 to 76 in terms of enrollment. We're at 3504 right now. So we're
worse than,
we're at 70 some odd students less than where he projected us to be. And next year is supposed to be at 3467. You know, and we'll probably be at, I don't know, probably be at that to start, and then
3370
less than that by the time we get to the end.
Andrew keeps talking about losing 100 students a year. So far this year, from February 14 to February, now we've lost 118.
Yeah.
From February
It's
to
almost 20% higher than.
118 students.
Yeah.
Do you
Take
have,
a look at that spreadsheet I sent you guys of the enrollment. It's per class, it's per building, it's per and per year. I mean, this isn't rocket science. I mean, we had fewer buildings 10 years ago with the same number of students, and here we are now. Ever since September 2009, we've been on a downward trend.
Did we, this whole redistricting, did we redistrict when you built Monocacy?
I don't remember going for redistricting.
Because before Monocacy, kids went to Birdsboro and kids went to Amity. So if we never redistrict into Monocacy, yeah, but that was only kindergarten. All kindergarten went
And
there.
you've done something, because where I live behind Dunkin' Donuts, that and a couple half mile or so beyond into Amity now goes to Monocacy and Birdsboro, not Amity.
Yeah, there's a street somewhere in Amity that is the delineation, because I remember we had somebody coming in saying, I don't want my kid going to Monocacy, I want him going to Amity.
Didn't want his kid crossing 422.
Right.
Well, I mean, but years ago, and this is going back almost 20 years, 15 years, there was, I mean, you have the trailer park there on Monocacy Creek.
Yep.
And back before Monocacy, some of those kids went to Birdsboro and some of those kids went to Amity. It depended on how much room there was. And then if you had brothers or sisters, because I knew people living there, if you had brothers or sisters that went to one, they'd send you to that one. But if you didn't, you might go to the other one, depending on where they had room. Wow. So it was, I don't know that there was total firm lines, but.
I talked to a woman the other day too, who is a friend of mine. I think she's very rational, but she was worried about 5th grade going into the middle school. And I said, well, wait a minute. The 6th graders in the middle school last year were the 5th graders with your 4th grader.
Right.
And the 7th graders were the 5th grader with your 3rd grader. So I don't know.
Right. Like I said, I'm more concerned with the 5-year-old with the 11-year-old than I am with the 11-year-old with the 15-year-old. I mean, not concerned, but I mean,
as far as buses right now,
yeah.
You've got your kindergarten kids.
Well, look,
that's what I mean.
A lot of private schools have a K through 8 model.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you look up the best middle schools in the country, they're all K through 8.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that age group of kids, works well. And actually, for whatever reason, I was reading about this. About 30 years ago, there was a push in public schools to separate the 7th, 8th, 9th, or the 6th, 7th, 8th off from the younger population. And they believe that by having the older kids and the younger kids together, you actually have a better school environment and better development overall. So you see, there's been some studies about these 5 through 8 models, and we have a lot of school districts in our area, I mean, down State College, and around Pittsburgh, they're all over Pennsylvania, where you have a 5 through 8 model that works. Now, what they do is they clump it 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
So 5, 6, you have a homeroom, you have one teacher, that type of thing. You eat meals separately from the 7th, 8th graders. It's sort of staggered. You get to 7, 8, you have a rotating classroom. You don't have the homeroom, you have a locker, you get your books, you go from class to class to class with different teachers for each subject.
That could all be worked out.
And that can only work out in one building.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That they do it in lots of other school districts. So it's not a,
You know,
it's not
you're
like we're
doing is
reinventing
segregating the
the
middle
wheel.
school to 5, 6 here and 7, 8 there.
Yeah, I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel anywhere.
No.
This is all being done in other places. But I think there's a general trend. I think enrollments everywhere have been going down. Clearly, it's been the case, just down the road from us and around us. I mean, all these other schools have shifted the way they're doing things just because of declining enrollment. So it's not unique to Daniel Boone.
I think there's people I've spoken to about this has a general misconception that we're voting to close the school. It's like, no, we're voting to file the paperwork with the state to allow us to close the school 18 months from now.
I didn't even tell them that. I told them we're voting, we're having a discussion to determine whether to vote to close the school.
Correct.
But it's all.
And I explained the 3 months and
Yeah.
60 days and all that stuff to them, the requirements of what we would have to do to close the building.
My thing too is that if we could, if enrollment says that we can close the building, then, that's more resources we have to put towards programming, towards curriculum, which should be important to parents with kids in schools, right?
Yeah, but before you make that argument about we're going to take that money and spend it.
Well, I'm not saying
I
we're
only
spending
say-
it.
I only say this because Peters continues to climb.
Yeah, we have other things.
You have a reserve study that says we have several $1 million we're going to need to spend on our remaining buildings in the next couple of years, and we're still $88 million in debt.
Mhm. Oh, the money's already spent. I'm not.
Well, I think that, clearly if you have a choice between, a building is just a building. That's all it is. Just an empty shell. It doesn't.
Apparently, it's
doesn't
more
educate
than that.
Well,
It's a
more than
community
some
center in
things,
some
but,
places.
it doesn't educate the kids. It doesn't,
Right.
make them better people. All those types of things. So, the kids will be the same. The number of teachers that are required to teach the same number of kids is the same. So, the only thing that changes is where they're going to physically be.
Right.
And quite frankly, I think there's going to be a lot of synergies to be realized by taking kids to fewer places and having them together than it is to have them spread out across, 4 buildings. So,
I'm not sure why that's such a contentious issue, or why that's.
people don't like the idea of change. I don't think
Change
people
is
like the
bad.
idea of seeing a school in their community go dark, which is why, like in Birdsboro last year, you saw such angst over
Sure.
that.
Sure.
But Birdsboro, look, Birdsboro is going to have to face that sooner or later. We go down to 3,000 students, and you're looking at closing Birdsboro as well.
Yeah.
I don't see how you get around it.
What they don't realize, this is not a Daniel Boone issue. This is nationwide. It really,
Oh,
really
yeah.
is with schools closing. Mike, I think, joked about my one-room steeple, but from 2nd to 5th grade, I went to the largest parochial school in the country, and it's closed. Doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
That's true with a lot of programs.
Yeah.
It's a political deal.
What do you mean that would be?
It's highly political. You've got quite frankly, you've got a Birdsboro faction and you got an Amity faction. That's just the way it is.
Well, now you have MEC faction too,
Well,
apparently.
Yeah.
Now you have an MEC
I
faction
think
too. I mean,
that-
apparently it used to be an Amity Birdsboro thing, but now, Monocacy apparently is a community school too now. So,
Anyway, back to what I was saying, Channel 69 will be here Thursday evening. I'm pretty sure the Reading Eagle and Potsdam Mercury will be here Thursday evening. So.
God, does that mean we have to dress up in their coats?
I really thought there was going to be a finance committee meeting, and I allocated like 2 hours of my night to this. Not 7.
I don't mean to beat it to death, but I just want to bring it up
No.
now, because what will happen is we're going to talk about some numbers in the finance committee meeting, and then it's going to come up again at the committee of the whole, and we're going to have to, as a board, vote or schedule a time to have a hearing if that's what we want to do. We have to advertise 15 days before the hearing and so on and so forth. So there is sort of a timeline that we have to be cognizant of to have a hearing and begin having this discussion and collecting data on, the value proposition of closing the school, whether that makes sense to do to defining enrollment. And that has to happen in March.
Yeah, there either needs to be a vote Thursday evening, or we have to have a special meeting next week. So we may as well.
Well, we're having a special meeting Thursday, aren't we?
Right.
For that
A
reason.
special meeting following the finance committee.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If not, we'd have to have another night.
Right, yeah, I don't need another.
We may
No,
as well-
that needs to go to a vote Thursday, right?
Yes, it will, that's what he's saying, that's why I scheduled it then, because otherwise he'd have to have it
yeah.
another time,
Gotcha.
so.
I'll just make one quick comment. If you're looking at expanding, just as just food for thought, into the annex with whomever, whatever, that section of the school is going to be in need of some repairs and some maintenance, just food for thought, because there's a lot of equipment there that is currently not working at all. And if it is working, it's working bare bones.
Yeah, but the cost of repairs versus the
Correct.
cost
No, I'm
of
just-
keeping the school open has to be different.
I'm just throwing it out there. There's bathrooms that are only half of the toilets work or urinals work. Some of the sinks are disconnected. So there's going to be some construction needed in that section, regardless of what you do. Whether you move a middle school in there or whatever.
And they should be repaired regardless. We should not have
right.
facilities that don't work.
Well, that CAF and all that equipment, I know we did a tour through there maybe, a year and a half ago. And just about every piece of equipment in that CAF would have to be replaced, including the freezer, because that's and I know Kenny was salvaging things out of that to put in other schools.
Yeah.
So, and I remember it was almost $400,000 then,
Wow.
if we were going to bring that cafeteria back into use.
Better than a couple million for.
And there is no air conditioning in that end as well.
What?
Annex has minimal to no air conditioning.
I mean, don't get me wrong,
Okay.
I went to school, we had no air
Shut off, or
conditioning
they
either,
don't
but
Don't exist.
it never had it?
No.
Must have really been in the dark ages.
Oh my God, so we're gonna send kids from air conditioning to no air conditioning?
I don't know about that.
That we're gonna get a grievance.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, that's going to be like.
Because the
Yeah.
art room.
Did you have air
that's in the
conditioning when you
annex
went to
end
school?
there,
I didn't either. I still don't have air conditioning in my house.
That's just straight electric heat.
And I've survived.
There's no electric. The gym is no
Look,
air.
it's a valid point to bring
I'm
up.
looking at that issue.
It's worth
Send-
consideration. I think in the long term, we need to be looking at, okay, overall, this is where we're going to end up with enrollment. And if we
Correct.
end up there, what's the best configuration amongst our assets
Right.
for that
Yeah.
type of
I
student
just
body? And if
wanted to
that's
let you know.
consideration, hey, look, we want to move into middle school, well, moving into middle school is going to cost you, pick a number, $750,000 renovation, because you got to put in new kitchens, you got to do this, you got to do that. But on the other hand, if you're closing certain buildings, maybe you're pulling kitchens out of those places and putting them up here, and
Right.
those
Well,
sorts of things.
I think it's important too, so that we actually know what we're talking about. I understand the numbers say that, we're only at 80% or 60% or this or that, and this could just be made up stuff, but you see stuff on the social media about, well, then why are kids shoved here and there? There's all this room, but we got makeshift classes and kids shoved together. So are we not utilizing our resources well either? Because if the high school capacity is only at 80%, but we have sardines stuffed into classes, my question would be why? And I don't know that anybody can really answer that, but the building
I think it
principals.
depends on which building you're talking about. Like AIC, you got 694 kids in a building that holds 750. That's maximum capacity in terms of fire rating and all
Right.
that stuff, and use and occupancy. So 93%.
Yeah, I think
Monocacy's
the
at-
comments I've seen are high school and middle school.
Yeah, Monocacy, we're at 409 and it holds 450. So you're almost at capacity there. It's these other buildings where, it's Birdsboro, it's the middle school, and it's the high school, where we've got plenty of room in those three buildings.
And the high school, I think, fits into what you just said. I don't think it's managed properly.
Well, I would say it might make sense to have somebody that knows the answers to those questions if we get them. Or not, I mean, maybe not even that night, but that we can get answers to those questions if we get
Yeah.
confronted with them at meetings. Because if it's only, if a building's only 70% at capacity, there shouldn't be, it should be managed properly.
And I'll just throw this out there too. When I was at Wilson and they added on to those 3 elementary schools, and they demolished the 2, the big argument in the beginning of that process was, well, the school says capacity can handle this many kids, and that's what we're going to be at, or going to be slightly short of. And then the former director went to the principals and said, well, how do you use your buildings? And they said, well, this classroom I use for this because this state mandate mandated me to do this, you know, and I think that's what you're going to probably see pushback from your teachers and principals and stuff, because the building may say it can be used for a certain amount of kids, but with the wonderful education system that we have now, they use the building so differently than what it was designed 10 years ago. And that's what happened at Wilson. That's why they ended up adding on to make those 8 classrooms so they could leave serving classrooms alone. I mean, they crammed them for a year, but then once the additions were done, then the principals could go back to where they were. I just know that was one of the big discussion points over there. With the way they were using the spaces in there. Again, I'm not an educator, so I'm not going to sit here and claim that they use it correctly or not. So,
Casey, post offices are built with an expansion wall.
Yeah.
I heard different stories about AEC. Does that have an expansion wall or not? I mean, can it be built onto instead of us ever building another building?
oh, I'm sure it can. I'm sure it can. You have the stair tower in the end. I mean, that's what Wilson did with those 3 elementary schools. They just took the stair tower in and just went right out.
Right.
That's the easiest way to do it.
That's why, I mean.
Yeah, the property over there.
Schools.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, we
sitting in an
built
empty building.
schools,
Yeah.
I don't know that we needed to.
Yeah, well,
It's a
I
valid.
think that's a, at this point, that's a rhetorical argument. I mean, you know, clearly we didn't need to build the schools, but we did, we have them, so now the question is, what do we do with them?
Some people wanted a legacy other than being the one to cut all programs, kindergarten, and close buildings.
That was my thing.
So if we close the building, we get a plaque and a
Yeah, we get a-
saying this board closes.
Yeah, right.
You know, somebody once said to me, they're like, hey, I saw your name on the stadium plaque. I'm like, yeah, I didn't want it there. Like, well, I was like, because I really had nothing to do with it, and I didn't want it, but somehow I ended up on the plaque.
Yeah.
Kowski voted no.
No. All right, well, I think that's plenty. Should we plan on April? Does the first Monday work? Do you have a calendar?
That's Easter Monday, too.
Oh, it's Easter Monday? Oh, that's right, I forgot. Some people have that as a holiday.
I don't find it.
No, but I'm just saying it is Easter Monday.
Okay.
Friends emailed her.
What, you were talking about the 6th?
Yeah. Do you guys, I mean, does the admin office work that day? Or is that a holiday?
Unless it becomes a snow day, they'd be shut.
They'd be shut down. Okay. Well, and well, we could shoot for the 13th, but if before the committee of the whole, I guess, if you want to do that at 6 o'clock, if nothing else is scheduled. I don't know what else is.
Well, yeah, that would be a policy.
Policy. Okay.
Policy meeting on the first.
It's always on council.
What about, okay, so yours is always on the, okay, and, all right, and then, how about,
What's her name? Was it Cassie? No, but there was also. Asking for days, like, where his kids go.
Thursday the 2nd?
Yeah, March.
Oh, wait, that would be a holiday too, right? Never mind, that's a holiday too. Thursday is, so, all right,
What's Thursday this? Oh.
because there are Thursday, Friday, Monday for Easter.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm actually.
I get Easter Sunday off.
Yeah, I mean, no, we could get Friday.
Because he ran
In the petition.
What do we have scheduled
I had the
for,
best job ever.
what do we have for negotiation stuff? Can we
Well,
do it
I
on a
saw
night
on the
when we have?
8th, I have on the 8th of April, meeting with support staff.
Oh,
was like,
Yeah.
what time's that? 6?
6 to
you don't know whether to respond.
Do we know how long they're going to be, or we don't know?
Just
If it's like the last one, what was it, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
2 cents.
And we probably could have made it shorter.
I'm just wondering if like we did it. What if we did this at like 7:30? Or is that too late?
Well, then 3 of us were also on the negotiations.
That's what I'm
You know,
trying
if it
to.
runs over, we're delaying our own meeting, then
Okay.
keeping these guys sitting around waiting for us.
Oh, yeah.
I've been here since 10 to 3 this morning, so it's all right.
Oh yeah, it sucks for you. Sorry.
Sucks for you, sorry.
I've been there, done that. That's why I know the feeling.
How you doing here, Admiral?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, plowing ice.
All right.
We
Well,
don't
I
have
can't do 7th. We can't do the 8th.
Equipment to do it.
9th, I got
so we
planning
gotta come in
commission.
early.
That's what I said.
It starts at 5. You know, school to get open by.
Tuesday the 15th?
Whatever it is that you see.
I don't want to keep making more
That's a
meeting
Wednesday.
dates.
That's a Wednesday.
That's a
Or
Wednesday.
Tuesday the 14th. Sorry.
I can't, I have planning commission that night.
Okay.
We have to plan in Birdsboro. Nothing's even happening.
Yeah, right.
Thursday
We're
the
gonna have 2 meetings a
16th.
month for the next couple months.
Thursday the
I'll tell you
16th.
about it.
We have a meeting
I'm
out
going to
next
be in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, we have-
All right.
I'll be in Virginia Beach.
What about
the
Tuesday the 7th?
16th, 17th.
I have a supervisor's meeting. You guys can have it without me, really.
We're paying.
But I have to work.
I'll be in South Carolina on the 10th
The 9th,
for my
I have
daughter's
planning
college
commission.
orientation.
the 16th.
Is that where you want to go? So
He's out.
South Carolina.
He's in Virginia
It's gonna be a
Beach.
game
Why
time.
go to-
I might not have a meeting the 9th. We could tentatively try plan for the 9th.
Okay.
I'll know for certain after this next Thursday.
Thursday the 9th?
Let's try for that. And
Thursday the 9th at
Alright.
6.
All right, we're going to make that one quick. I get on the road for about 2 hours driving, 3 hours driving to get a hotel room.
well, I
That's fine.
normally try to keep them at 2
You
hours.
got to have one more thing.
Yeah.
We were on track.
Guarantee you that.
Mr. One
About 5 minutes.
All
I need a
right.
new snow shovel. Would you
I have 20 more
everything
things.
up for-
Every time I go, is that always like, well, I got one more thing.